There I stood, while she was on her hands and knees. Wait, no, she was the one on her hands and knees. Let me start over. Picture this, a hot, rich baroness crawling at my feet like I'm some kind of rock star. Sounds amazing, right? Normally, yeah, but I had zero time for romance because, oh, I don't know, the world was about Yendi. See, here's my situation. I was just a regular gamer. Beat the whole game, witches and apocalypse, every quest, every boss, every secret. I was doing my victory dance in front of my computer like an idiot. And then bam, the universe said, congratulations, you played yourself, and literally sucked me into the game. Good news, I know every single plot point, every shortcut, every NPC's deepest secrets. I'm basically walking Wikipedia for this world. Bad news. This world is a steampunk Cthulhu nightmare where ancient sea gods, cursed objects, and witches exist, and apocalypses happen like seasonal sales, regularly and violently. Worst news, no cheat system, no health bar, no respawn, just me and my big brain. So the Baroness, gorgeous blonde, curves for days, totally into sad-looking pretty boys, lucky me and my natural resting depression face. She was my ticket to the black market. I needed a specific item to stop something called the Flower of Finality event. Basically, in 30 days, the Imperial Princess Anna was going to turn into a giant black rose and eat half the kingdom for breakfast. Anna, by the way, was my in-game wife for 3 years. 3 years. I even wrote an angry complaint letter to the game developers because they promised I could get cozy with the witches, but her underwear was literally part of her character model. Couldn't remove it. False advertising, if you ask me. But now things were real. And the Baroness had already confirmed that. Anyway, I made my deal with the Baroness, directions to the black market in exchange for my, services. Pure business transaction. She wanted feelings. I told her to keep it professional. She loved that. Rich people are weird. That night, we dressed up like two suspicious NPCs, black cloaks, masks, the whole costume party, and rode her fancy carriage through the town. The place was peak creepy, rust-smelling fog, flickering gas lamps, steam pipes dripping boiling water on cobblestones. The walls were covered in sketchy ads for stuff like cheap holy water and anonymous therapy. This town needed more than therapy. We stopped at a dead-end alley. At the end, a rusty iron door with zero signage, just a gross, barely visible gear carving. This was the entrance no player could ever find without an NPC guide. That's literally a game rule. I knew it existed, but could never get here on my own. Thank you, horny Baroness. She knocked on the door with some secret pattern. Left 3 times, right once, hold the middle, and the door cracked open with a hiss like a mechanical beast yawning. The smell hit me like a truck. Old grease, cheap spice, chemicals, and something sweet and rotten from the deep ocean. Lovely. Behind the door, a tight spiral staircase going down into what looked like the intestines of some giant metal creature. Red bulbs in the walls gave everything a horror movie glow. Very inviting. 5 stars on Yelp. We squeezed through and went down. The air got hotter, the smells got worse, and I could hear the chaos below. Voices, machines humming, the whole underground economy buzzing. And then the staircase ended, and it opened up into this massive space built inside an old steam boiler room. The Raymont Black Market. I was finally here. Now I just had to save my game wife, prevent the apocalypse, and somehow not die in a world where humans are basically ants trying to fight elephants. No pressure. Welcome to the black market, sweetie, the Baroness purred, hanging on my arm like I was her designer handbag. She casually mentioned she comes here to buy desire potions. Cool. Normal hobby. Totally not concerning at all. The place was exactly how I remembered it from the game. Except now I could actually smell it. And wow, I wished I couldn't. Imagine a flea market had a baby with a horror movie set, and that baby never took a bath. Shady vendors in masks, customers skulking around like everyone owed someone money, and deals happening faster than a magician's card trick. Now, most newbies would wander around like lost puppies and get scammed within 30 seconds. Not me. I dodged the stalls radiating. You'll go insane if you touch this. Energy and swerved around the obvious tourist traps where fake customers were trying to lure suckers in. Amateur hour. I've speedrun this market 100 times. My target? A crusty old skeleton man squatting behind a giant broken gear in the southeast corner. This dude looked like death forgot to finish collecting him, skin vacuum sealed onto bones, wearing some Frankenstein goggles made of random gears and lenses, filing down what I really hoped wasn't a human bone. His inventory was pathetic on purpose. Rusty coins, dried up tentacle jerky, mystery metal scraps, and one broken pocket watch. That broken pocket watch was why I was here. First, I needed to ditch my escort. Hey, why don't you go shopping for your stuff? I suggested to the baroness. She got the hint immediately. Mature women understand secrets. She smiled, agreed to meet at the exit in 15 minutes, and off she went to buy her questionable potions. Perfect. I squatted down and pointed at the watch. How much? The old geezer grinned with approximately 4 teeth. Ah, good eye. This watch can stop time. Rob a bank, murder your enemies, whatever you want. Only 100 gold pounds. Yeah, buddy. I know what it does better than you do. The silent pocket watch. Early game god tier item. Wind it up, and everything within 5 meters freezes for 3 seconds. 24-hour cooldown. The catch? Every time you use it, you hear creepy deep-sea whispers that slowly drive you insane. Previous owners either went crazy or straight up cut off their own ERS. Fun. I tossed him my money bag. He opened it. 3 gold pounds and some silver coins. The baroness's generous donation, and roughly 97 gold pounds short. What's the meaning of this? He squinted at me. Oh, please, I said, hitting him with the knowledge bomb. Every person who's owned this thing either went mental or started a Van Gogh ear collection. Nobody's buying your cursed garage sale reject except me. His jaw dropped. You? Are you an appraiser? In this world, only appraisers can identify both powers and side effects of magical items. I gave him my best mysterious look. What do you think? The greedy little gremlin's eyes lit up. Tell you what, appraise 3 items for me, and I'll give you a discount. He pulled out 3 dirt-covered things some grave robber had brought him. Easy. Useless copper leaf. Trash. Cursed puppet. One-time use. Worth maybe 100 silver. Now this is nice. A blessed feather. Make it into a pen and you'll write bestsellers. His mind was blown. He shoved the watch into my hands so fast I almost dropped it. Come back anytime. Free appraisals. I give discounts. We were basically business partners now. I grabbed the watch, cold brass biting into my palm, and got moving. I could feel eyes on me. Multiple someones had watched that transaction, and I didn't plan on sticking around to find out who. Then, right as I was heading for the exit, I spotted something that nearly made my heart explode out of my chest. Sitting on a random stall, sealed in crystal, was a slowly pulsing deep blue thing. Half heart, half sea creature embryo, glowing with an energy that made your soul want to swan dive into the ocean. The heart of the deep sea singer's first cry. Late game ultra rare item. Key to the sea siren Songming's storyline. This thing normally only shows up in hidden in-game shops. And here it was, just sitting there. In the early game, like finding a nuclear warhead at a yard sale. Every fiber of my being screamed, buy it. But I kept walking. Didn't even slow down. I was broke, weak, and grabbing in-game items too early could trigger butterfly effects that'd make the apocalypse look like a minor inconvenience. Self-control. My greatest superpower. I met the baroness at the exit. We left, climbed back to the surface, and got into her carriage. She pulled out a fancy glass bottle of pink liquid with a flirty smile. It's called Spring Cicada. Want to try it? With me? Ma'am, recreational drugs are a rich people hobby. For broke guys like me, that's just a fast track to rock bottom. I'll pass. You can be my long-term lover, you know. The offer stands. With all due respect, ma'am, let's keep our friendship pure and holy. She loved that. Apparently, in this entire region, no man had ever turned her down. They all wanted her body or her money. But here I was, broke as a joke, acting like I was the one doing her a favor. She found it absolutely intoxicating. So intoxicating that she got on her knees again. In the moving carriage, the poor coachman up front suddenly developed a very convenient case of being deaf and blind. And then, right when I was, shall we say, enjoying the baroness's complimentary VIP service, a brass bullet ripped through the carriage wall with zero warning and punched straight through her forehead. 1 second she was alive and enthusiastic. The next second she was dead in my lap, a red flower blooming on her forehead like the world's worst rose. The coachman's acting career as a deaf mute? Probably about to get a lot more convincing. And me? Pants situation, compromised. Life situation, also compromised. This was not in the walkthrough. So there I was, pants barely back on, dead baroness in my lap, bullet hole in the carriage wall. Welcome to Tuesday in this nightmare world. No time for grief. No time for a funeral speech. No time for anything. I pulled up my pants, kicked open the carriage window, and yeeted myself out of a moving vehicle like an action movie hero, except way less graceful. Probably looked more like a drunk raccoon escaping a trash can. Thank God I was still wearing my mask and cloak, because the coachman had no idea who I was. Last thing I needed was, wanted, random guy who was getting special services when his date got sniped, posted on every wall in town. That same night, I jumped on the nearest steam train heading to the capital. Through the window, I watched Gothic towers and giant gears blur past like the world's most depressing screensaver. Inside my head, pure chaos. Not about the baroness dying, sorry, lady, but I had bigger problems. According to the game's storyline, tomorrow at noon, Princess Anna's personal maid Sheila was going to blow herself up in White Dove Square. A maid she'd trusted for 12 years. Her closest companion. And this sweet-looking girl was going to walk into a crowded plaza and turn herself into a bomb, killing 126 people and injuring over 2,000. That explosion would destroy everything Anna had worked for politically, get her isolated and exiled to some creepy tower called the Pale Moon Tower, where the combination of stress and her curse would make her snap. It was the domino that started the apocalypse. So yeah, I had about 14 hours to stop a suicide bomber. No pressure. The train arrived at dawn. I checked into the cheapest hotel I could find, slept for maybe 3 hours with one eye open, and mentally rehearsed my plans 17 times. Then I got moving. 10 o'clock, bought 2 meat wraps from a street vendor. One for breakfast, one shoved in my coat pocket. Why the spare? You'll see. I'm a genius and nobody appreciates me. 10:30, bought a lead-line box and a telescope from a second-hand mechanical shop. The shopkeeper probably thought I was either a birdwatcher or a serial killer. Both wrong. Sort of. 11, rode a double-decker trolley to White Dove Square. The place was packed. Vendors, families, kids running around, pigeons doing pigeon things. A perfectly normal, happy scene that was about to become a war zone. 11:30, climbed the tallest clock tower overlooking the square. Pulled out my telescope and started scanning the crowd. 15 minutes of searching faces, and there she was. Sheila. Brown curly hair, freckles, blue ruffled dress, carrying a basket of bread and milk. She looked like everyone's favorite babysitter. She'd been coming here for 3 straight days, feeding hungry street kids, building trust, making sure they'd all cluster around her when the moment came. Today, instead of bread, she was delivering death, and the children were already walking toward her. I flew down those tower stairs so fast I probably broke some kind of land speed record for clock tower descents. Shoved through the crowd like a maniac. 11:55. 5 minutes left. 4. 3. I could see Sheila reaching for something under her coat. I twisted the watch. The world went silent. Color drained away. Everything froze like someone hit the universe's pause button. 3 seconds. That's all I had. I moved through a painting of frozen people, reached Sheila, and performed emergency surgery with 0 medical training. The bomb wasn't a normal explosive. It was a cursed crystal shaped like a beating heart, embedded in her chest. I ripped it out and stuffed it into my lead box. Sealed. Done. Tom snapped back. Sheila collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. People gasped. Kids screamed her name. Miss Sheila. What happened to Miss Sheila? The older children picked her up and started carrying her to a hospital. Nobody knew what actually happened. Nobody saw me do anything. Perfect. Well, almost perfect. The ancient god's whispers hit me like a freight train to the soul. In the game, using the watch just meant watching a sanity number go down. In real life, it felt like someone was trying to peel my brain like an orange while whispering eldritch poetry directly into my nervous system. I nearly collapsed, but I couldn't stop, because I spotted them. 2 guys in black double-breasted coats with thorny vine badges. The Anomaly Containment Bureau. Think Men in Black, but meaner and with 0 sense of humor. They were the game's most annoying neutral faction, and they were scanning the crowd like human radar dishes. My little time-stop stunt had set off their alarms. Butterfly effect. Of course. The chase started. Through alleys, across rooftops, down streets I knew by heart, because I'd memorized this entire city map like a psychopath. I dodged them 3 times, each one closer than the last. And then I ran straight into a dead end. But this wasn't a mistake. This was the plan. The wall at the end was oozing black tar-like substance, and the air was shimmering with heat. A dimensional rift. Newborn, unstable, and incredibly dangerous. Also exactly what I came here for, because I knew who would be showing up to feed on it. Get lost, insect. This rift and its pathetic ancient god leftovers are mine. There she was, floating above me like an angry goddess at a buffet. Silver hair, crimson eyes, face beautiful enough to make angels jealous, but currently wearing an expression that said, "I will atomize you for breathing my air." Her fancy dress was shredded to ribbons, and the space around her was literally warping from her power. Hera, ancient dragon, the game's second interactive witch. Current status, starving, weakened by betrayal, and absolutely capable of killing 30,000 players in one hit. Her nickname was the Brutal Dragon, and she earned it. The containment agents were seconds away. I did the only logical thing. I pulled out my spare meat wrap and threw it at the most dangerous being within 1,000 miles. Deal. Food is yours. Help me with those guys behind me. Also, I know where to find the remains of the Pale Feast Lord. I can break your contract. She caught the meat wrap, sniffed it, blinked those magma-red eyes. Then she bit into it. 2 seconds. Gone. She swallowed and looked at me with genuine shock, like I'd just handed her a winning lottery ticket wrapped in a tortilla. Insect. Got any more? Get me out of this alive, and I'll buy you as many as you want. Humph. You think a mere meat wrap can command the great me? Dream on. What about smoked meat, apple pie, pineapple cake, donuts, caramel coffee, cream of mushroom soup, roast lamb, golden roast suckling pig, Thanksgiving turkey, and a medium-rare pan-seared steak? I listed every single food she secretly loved. Information that cost thousands of players their virtual lives to discover, because the game developers deliberately hid her foodie weakness from her character bio. Evil developers. But their cruelty was my advantage. Hera almost drooled. Almost. She caught herself, summoned a terrifying void-black sword, and tried to look intimidating. So I asked her which food she liked best. The sword vanished instantly. If I must choose, golden roast suckling pig is superior, though cream of mushroom soup has its merits. And just like that, the most feared dragon in existence became a food critic instead of my executioner. She grabbed me, yanked me into the rift just as the agents rounded the corner, and suddenly we were floating in the chaotic void together while she snacked on ancient god energy like it was cosmic trail mix. She got prettier as she ate. More color in her cheeks, more life in her eyes. Still dressed like a post-apocalypse princess, though. Stop staring, insect. I'll gouge your eyes out. Sorry, but in this tiny rift, you're literally the only thing I can look at without going insane. That was true, actually. The void around us was pure mental poison. Stare at it too long, and your brain turns to scrambled eggs. Hera was my anchor to sanity. My beautiful, terrifying, food-obsessed anchor. She didn't like being stared at without fear, though. Apparently, insects should be trembling at her feet, not making casual eye contact. She summoned her doomed sword again to teach me a lesson. So, I said quickly, smoked meat or apple pie? Which is better? The sword disappeared again. She seriously considered the question. I had tamed a dragon with a meat wrap and a food quiz. The game developers would be so mad. Okay, first order of business after crawling out of a dimensional rift with an ancient dragon lady, wardrobe change. Hera looked like she'd fought a tornado and lost. Her dress was basically confetti held together by stubbornness. If we walked around the capital like this, me in my cloak looking like a discount assassin and her looking like a homeless goddess, the Containment Bureau would spot us faster than a clown at a funeral. So I dragged her into a clothing shop. And here's where my brilliance truly shined. See, I was broke. Like, checking between couch cushions for coins, broke. And Hera needed an entire outfit. The solution? A maid uniform. Half the price of regular women's clothes, same fabric quality, and honestly, on Hera, it looked incredible. Like someone put a supermodel in cosplay. Her legs alone could probably end wars. But the conservative design kept those weapons of mass distraction hidden. Probably for the best. We were trying to lay low. Tell me this isn't a maid outfit. Hera said, staring at herself with the expression of someone who just stepped in something unpleasant. It's the latest fashion in ladies' dresses, I said with a perfectly straight face. Very trendy. All the noble women are wearing them. She didn't believe me. Obviously. But she also didn't have alternatives, so angry dragon noises it was. The shop owner made the mistake of his life by opening his mouth. Sir, your maid is the most beautiful one I've ever seen. If she'd leave a photograph, I'll give you a discount. Hera's eyes went from mildly annoyed to extinction event in about half a second. Get lost. She was one breath away from turning this poor man into a historical footnote. I grabbed her arm like I was defusing a bomb, which, essentially, I was. Someone of your noble bloodline shouldn't waste energy on insects, I whispered, stroking her ego like a championship-level ego masseur. Then I leaned closer. You don't want the Containment Bureau finding us, right? Cold snort. But she stood down. Good dragon. Then I turned to the shopkeeper with my best con artist smile. My maid has some mental health issues. Please forgive her rudeness. But doesn't she look amazing in your clothes? She'll be a walking advertisement. Tell you what, 1 silver sparrow, and we'll take the outfit. 1 silver sparrow? Sir, that doesn't even cover my costs. Fine, I'll just have her change back. The seamstress next door offered us half price for the publicity alone. His face went through all 5 stages of grief in 2 seconds. 1 silver sparrow. Take it. Beautiful. I also grabbed myself a fitted suit, a half-height silk top hat, and a silver walking cane. If I was going to pretend to be someone important, I needed to look someone important. Fake it till you make it is my entire survival strategy in this world. Now came the hard part, convincing a 10,000-year-old dragon that being my pretend maid was actually a good thing. Miss Hera, you're simply too dazzling. Everywhere you go, you become the center of attention. These humble clothes disguise your true identity and keep the Containment Bureau off our trail. I talk so fast and so smoothly that even a used car salesman would have taken notes. Top it off with promises of unlimited gourmet food. And eventually, Hera's resistance crumbled like a cookie in hot milk. At the Compass Tavern, I watched her demolish enough cream of mushroom soup to feed a small army. She wiped her cherry-red lips, finally looking satisfied. You weren't lying. The food here is good. Then she stood up. Transaction complete. Farewell. Wait, what? Hold on. Our deal just started. I promised to help you break your contract, remember? She paused. And I guarantee that as long as you stay with me, you'll keep eating like this. Every day. Her crimson eyes narrowed. She was doing the math. Freedom from her curse plus unlimited food versus going back to eating raw ancient god fumes in dimensional cracks alone. What's the cost? She asked. Just keep pretending to be my maid and protect me when things get dangerous. You know, because I'm a helpless little insect who can't even fight a chicken. That's all? That's all. Fine. As long as you break my contract, I'll protect you during this time. Sold. To the guy with the meat wraps. Now, I deliberately didn't mention signing an actual contract with her. Her last contract partner had betrayed her horribly, stolen most of her power, and basically ruined her life. Bringing up contracts right now would be like asking someone who just got divorced to sign a prenup on their first date. Bad timing. Terrible idea. Read the room, Leanne. Problem was, our little shopping spree and soup feast had completely bankrupted me. I was so broke that if money was water, I'd be a desert. I needed cash, and I needed it fast. Luckily, knowledge is power, and in this world, I had knowledge coming out of my ears. I knew exactly how to get rich quick, and it didn't involve a lottery ticket. I led Hera to District 13, the capital's slum. Think of the worst neighborhood you've ever seen. Then add more crime, more dirt, and subtract all hope. This place was basically where happiness came to die. The second we walked in looking all fancy, every thug, pickpocket, and gang member in a 3-block radius started drooling. 2 well-dressed idiots strolling through their territory? Christmas came early. I put my hand in my pocket with a very deliberate motion. Every criminal in the alley froze. That gesture? Universal language for, I have a gun, and I'm not afraid to redecorate this alley with your insides. They watched my hand carefully. And I pulled out a pineapple bomb. The moment they realized it was bread and not a revolver, they charged. Half a dozen thugs surrounded us, knives out, grinning like hyenas. Leave your money and the maid. They were staring at Hera like she was a winning lottery ticket. A maid this beautiful? We could sell her to the Red Theater for a fortune, their faces twisted with greed so hard they looked like cartoon villains. I handed the pineapple bun to Hera. She ate it in one bite. Mediocre, she judged. 60 seconds later, every single thug was lying on the ground moaning like they'd been hit by a freight train. Hera hadn't even broken a sweat. She'd beaten them so thoroughly that the local homeless people rushed in and stole the thugs' clothes and money pouches while they lay there whimpering in the cold wind. Karma is beautiful. Deeper in the alley, I found who I was actually looking for. A skinny boy selling cheap oyster soup. Around his neck hung an ordinary-looking necklace with a small metal pendant. That was what I needed. "Sir, would you like some oyster soup?" the poor kid asked hopefully. I emptied every last coin from my pockets and offered it all to him. His eyes went wide. "That's too much. I don't have change. I don't want soup. I want that necklace. It looks like one I lost years ago." The boy hesitated. It was obviously something he'd found, not inherited, but he lied anyway. "This was from my mother." I didn't care. A deal was made. Necklace acquired. Hera slurped her oyster soup and made a face. "Not good." Then she squinted at the necklace. "What do you want this junk for? Can you read what it says on the pendant?" She leaned in. "To my dearest Jenny." "Exactly. A love token." "So what? You know Earl Hall?" Before he inherited his title, he spent 109 nights with a woman named Jenny. For free. Then ghosted her. This necklace is the proof. And then, now. Jenny is my mother. Hera blinked. Those gorgeous crimson eyes were filled with what I can only describe as beautiful, sparkling confusion. She had absolutely no idea what I was planning and honestly looked like a puppy trying to understand algebra. I didn't bother explaining further. We walked for 2 hours back to the upper city because I'd been saving my last 2 silver sparrow coins for something more important. The carriage fare into the noble district. You literally cannot walk into the noble quarter. You must arrive by vehicle. It's a rule. A stupid, classist, annoying rule. But a rule. "Why didn't you use those coins earlier so we didn't have to walk?" Hera complained. "Because without a carriage, we can't enter the noble district." "Do nobles not have legs?" "You could say that. They only travel by noble carriages. If they don't have one, they feel inferior." "Oh, and steam cars are becoming trendy lately." The carriage dropped us at Earl Hall's White Snow Manor. Gorgeous estate. Massive gates. "Very. I'm richer than you and I want you to know it. Here's the thing. In this world, I was nobody. Zero identity. Complete blank slate. Not even a birth certificate. I was the human equivalent of an unregistered SIM card. But you know what? Identity is something you give yourself. I truly believe this. With all my heart." I rang the doorbell. A servant opened the iron gate and looked at me and my dragon made with suspicion. "Can I help you?" I smiled my most confident, most aristocratic, most, "I absolutely belong here" smile. "I'm here to see my father." "Earl Hall." The servant's jaw dropped. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how a broke, identity-less transmigrator with a pocket watch, a fake maid who could destroy cities, and a dead woman's love necklace showed up at a nobleman's door claiming to be his illegitimate son. Identity is what you make it. And I was about to make mine very interesting. Let me tell you something about confidence. It's not about what you have. It's about what you make people believe you have. And right now, standing in the grand hall of White Snow Manor, holding a cheap necklace I bought from a soup kid, I was about to pull off the greatest con of my entire existence. Earl Hall was exactly how I imagined him from the game. Silver wig that probably cost more than my entire life savings. Fancy court outfit struggling to contain a body that had clearly never met a vegetable it couldn't refuse, and a face so serious you'd think smiling was illegal. This man had the physique of a retired walrus in a tuxedo, but the authority of someone who could have me executed before lunch. Time to act. I stood up, removed my silk hat with a graceful sweep, and bowed like I'd been doing it my whole life. "You must be the esteemed Earl. My mother spoke of you constantly before she passed. She said she could never forget your azure eyes." I paused for dramatic effect. "Please forgive my sudden visit. Mother wished for me to find you, and to bring back a bouquet of lilies, her favorite, to place on her grave." The second I said, "lilies," this old walrus's eyes went soft. Somewhere in that overfed body, a dusty memory of young love creaked open like an old music box. He was remembering Jenny, the beautiful girl he'd spent 109 nights with, and then abandoned like last season's fashion. "You're truly Jenny's and my child?" he asked. "Yes," Here's the beautiful thing about this era. No DNA tests. No paternity courts. No Maury Povich screaming, "You are the father." All you needed to fake being someone's illegitimate son was a prop, a backstory, and absolutely massive audacity. Most people wouldn't dare try this because impersonating nobility was a crime punishable by things I'd rather not think about. But most people didn't have my cheat codes. "Describe your mother to me," the Earl said. She had flowing, silky hair, eyes that sparkled like starlight, and a face that remained beautiful even as time tried its best to steal it away. To me, she was the most gorgeous woman in the world. I described a woman I'd never met with the passion of a romance novelist on a deadline. The Earl was eating it up like Hera eats meat wraps. "How did she speak of me?" "She said you were the brightest sun in her life, that you gave her the happiest days she ever knew. She was proud to have given birth to your child." I said all of this without blinking, without blushing, without a single crack in my voice. Professional-grade nonsense. If lying were an Olympic sport, I'd have 3 gold medals and a sponsorship deal. The Earl nodded slowly. "You are indeed Jenny's and my child." Then he hugged me. Behind us, Hera's jaw was hanging somewhere near her kneecaps. She looked like someone watching a magic trick and desperately trying to figure out where the rabbit went. This father-son reunion had taken approximately 4 minutes, and she was clearly thinking, "That's IT? That's all it takes." We spent the afternoon sipping premium tea while I fabricated an entire childhood on the spot. Every question the Earl asked, I answered with the perfect blend of sadness, gratitude, and filial devotion. It was my magnum opus, my Mona Lisa of deception. By evening, the Earl was so moved he gave me a monthly allowance of 250 gold pounds, promised to arrange a respectable job, and had his butler escort us to a vacant property on Mink Street, a gorgeous 3-story mansion. 250 gold pounds a month, plus a free mansion. Yesterday, I was buying meat wraps with copper coins. Today I had a sugar daddy. Life comes at you fast. Hera stood in the middle of our new luxury home, still buffering. "You're really the Earl's son?" Meanwhile, back at the Earl's manor, his actual son Simon was asking the exact same question. And here's the twist that made this whole scam accidentally genius. The Earl knew I probably wasn't his kid. But here's the thing. He'd also slept with Jenny's sister, and apparently I looked a bit like her. So in his mind, there was maybe a tiny chance I was legit. But more importantly, the Earl didn't care about the truth. He needed a pawn, someone expendable to get close to Princess Anna, the cursed imperial princess that every noble was terrified of. Her previous fiancés had all died mysteriously. She was basically a beautiful death sentence wearing a tiara. The Earl's plan? Make me Anna's bodyguard first, then eventually push me into proposing to her. A sacrificial lamb dressed in a nice suit. His real son Simon felt a little guilty about it. "Father, that woman is cursed. All her fiancés died." "Are you sure about this? Unless you want to take his place?" Simon shut up immediately. Blood is thicker than water, but not thicker than survival instinct, apparently. The beautiful irony? Getting close to Anna was exactly what I wanted. The Earl thought he was using me. I was using him. We were both playing chess, except he was playing checkers, and I had the entire game guide memorized. Back at our new mansion, Hera discovered wine. And she discovered it with the same enthusiasm she brought to everything. Absolutely zero self-control. She chugged premium red wine like it was juice, got absolutely hammered, and was now sprawled across the sofa next to me, hiccuping like a broken engine. Zero dignity. Maximum adorable. Red wine is meant to be savored, I lectured her. You've been alive for thousands of years and nobody taught you this. That Earl is a huge idiot. Falling for a scammer like you. She slurred, her face flushed pink. Oh, he's not stupid at all. He just desperately needs someone to keep the princess happy. What does that mean? You're drunk. Stop asking questions. Sleep. I patted her head. She found a comfortable spot, curled up like a very dangerous cat, and passed out instantly. Silver hair flowing across the sofa like a river of moonlight, porcelain skin, killer figure wrapped in that black and white maid outfit. I noticed her collar buttons looked dangerously tight. She might choke in her sleep. Being the responsible gentleman that I am, I carefully unbuttoned 3 of them, purely for medical reasons. Safety first. Then I went back to sipping my wine like nothing happened. Look, I'm not stupid enough to try anything with an ancient dragon who isn't contractually bound to not murder me. That's called having a death wish, until I officially become her contract partner. Touching Hera inappropriately would be like French kissing a nuclear warhead. So I channeled my inner monk and kept my hands to myself. We lived in that mansion for a glorious week. 250 gold pounds bought us fantastic food, comfortable living, and all the cream of mushroom soup Hera could inhale. I even got a private tutor who came 4 hours daily to teach me noble etiquette and family politics so I wouldn't embarrass myself at aristocratic parties. Basically, how to be rich 101. Then the Earl's butler showed up with my job assignment. Congratulations, young Master Lian. Starting tomorrow, you'll serve in the Royal Guard as Princess Anna's personal bodyguard. It's a position everyone dreams of. The butler said this with a straight face, completely ignoring the fact that this dream job had a mortality rate higher than skydiving without a parachute. Please thank my father for his generosity. I will honor the Hall family name and serve Her Highness with dedication. I smiled warmly, then slid 10 gold pounds across the table with an innocent look. Oh my, sir, did you drop these 10 gold coins? The butler blinked, pocketed the bribe faster than a magician palming a card, and suddenly became much friendlier. A word of advice, young master. The princess wears a mask at all times. Never ask why. Understood. Thank you. Oh, I already knew about the mask. I knew what was underneath it. I knew the curse eating her alive. I knew every single tragedy waiting in her future. And starting tomorrow, I was going to rewrite all of it. Anna, your number one husband from another dimension is coming. Just hold on a little longer. Meanwhile, at the Black Rose Castle, my future wife was having a very bad morning. Not that she knew I existed yet. Princess Anna was lounging on a sofa in her castle, wearing her signature half-mask. Listening to her head made Katie report the news. And the news was, her trusted personal maid Sheila, the girl she'd kept close for 12 years, had just killed herself. Oh, and also she was a spy planted by a psycho-death cult called the Revelers, and she'd been planning to blow up a crowded plaza to destroy Anna's political career. You know, typical Tuesday stuff in this garbage world. Someone stopped the explosion, Katie reported. Not the Containment Bureau. A third party. They used some kind of supernatural artifact and then vanished. Anna's reaction? She frowned slightly. Not because someone tried to murder hundreds of people in her name. Not because her closest companion was a traitor. No, she frowned because someone had helped her. That was suspicious. In Anna's world, someone wants to help you was about as believable as, this Nigerian prince really does need your bank details. And honestly, I couldn't blame her. This girl had been dealt the worst hand in the universe since birth. She was a witch, born with incredible magic powers in a world that feared and hated witches. Her own parents were disgusted by her. Her sisters avoided her like she was contagious. The only reason her father, the emperor, even acknowledged her existence was because she'd single-handedly won back steam technology for the empire and earned military glory on the battlefield. Half the empire's current prosperity was literally thanks to her. Did she get appreciation? Awards? A thank you card? Nope. The ministers and old money nobles spent their entire careers trying to sabotage her. And now they were apparently teaming up with an evil cult to finish the job. Parent of the Year, Emperor Dad. Then came the real gut punch. Katie handed Anna for personnel files. His Majesty has selected 4 young noblemen as your personal guards. He expects you to develop a relationship with them and choose a fiancé within 3 months. Without noble backing, you cannot qualify as his heir. See, the emperor had no sons, only daughters. For princesses, all competing for the throne like the world's most dangerous beauty pageant. Each princess lived in one of the 4 imperial castles, Red Rose, Yellow Rose, Blue Rose, and Black Rose. The eldest was famous for beauty, the second for kindness, the third for talent, and Anna, the youngest, famous for being able to punch your soul out of your body. Her title was Blade of the Empire, not exactly the cuddly nickname you'd put on a dating profile. Anna tossed the files aside like junk mail. He's always so dedicated to these schemes. Your Highness, a reliable fiancé with strong backing could help your cause. You mean the next poor fool who'll mysteriously drop dead? My previous fiancés all died from various accidents. Father just wants another excuse to disqualify me. Cold. Accurate. Heartbreaking. This woman had been through so much that she'd stopped believing anyone could survive being close to her. Every man who'd gotten engaged to her had died. Well, former fiancés. Because this fiancé had a walkthrough guide and a dragon bodyguard. Slight advantage. Next morning, 9 o'clock sharp, I showed up at Black Rose Castle looking like £1,000,000 gold in my new suit. The castle was famous for its gardens of actual black roses, which was either incredibly beautiful or incredibly goth, depending on your perspective. I was leaning toward both. 3 other noble sons had been assigned as guards alongside me. Let me introduce the squad. Cape, golden short hair, son of Marquis Pella. Illegitimate child, but famous in noble circles for being devastatingly handsome and sleeping with basically everyone's wife. Think if a golden retriever became a professional heartbreaker. Shuss, blue long hair, son of Earl Ditter. The analytical type. Quiet, observant. Probably wrote poetry nobody asked for. Wilson, white short hair, youngest son of the mighty Duke Constantine. Walking anxiety attack. Looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on the planet. Within seconds of meeting, we established that none of us wanted to be here. This wasn't a competition for Anna's heart. This was a support group for guys whose families hated them enough to volunteer them as tribute. Just thinking about getting close to that terrifying which makes me tremble, Wilson whimpered. I'm definitely the least favorite child. Same here, Cape agreed, running his fingers through his golden locks. I should wear a mask too, in case she falls in love with my handsome face. Everyone connected to her dies. Cape, you would have been the prettiest one here, Shuss interrupted, if Leon hadn't shown up. Look at him. That melancholic gaze, those delicate features, that harmless smile. He's literally every girl's fantasy boyfriend straight out of a romance novel. Thanks, Shuss. Very helpful. Way to put a target on my back with the group. Though technically, being Anna's fantasy boyfriend was exactly my job description. So, mission accomplished? My week of etiquette lessons with that private tutor was paying off. I now understood all the complicated noble family trees and political connections that I'd completely ignored while playing the game. Turns out, when you're inside the game, knowing which duke is feuding with which marquis is slightly more important than optimizing your DPS rotation. She's coming, I said. All 3 noble boys snapped to attention like someone had electrified their spines. We stood straight as fence posts. New recruits waiting for the drill sergeant. Click, click, click. High heels on stone floor. Getting closer. Each step echoed through the hall like a countdown to doom. Or destiny. Same thing, really. And then she appeared. Black lace court dress. Matching black lace mask covering half her face. A woman who stood 5'6" but projected an aura roughly 9 feet tall. She walked in like she owned not just this room, not just this castle, but the entire concept of authority itself. Behind her, Katie the headmaid followed. And she was stunning too, which was a problem, because all 3 of my fellow guards immediately locked eyes on Katie. Every single one. Their eyes went to the beautiful assistant like moths to a flame. The actual princess? Ignored. This happened to Anna every time. People were either too scared to look at her or too distracted by whoever was standing next to her. She'd gotten used to being invisible in plain sight. But not to me. I couldn't look away from her if someone had paid me. My eyes were locked on Anna like a laser-guided missile of pure devotion. This was her. The character I'd spent 1,095 days with in the game. The witch whose storyline had made me cry at 3 in the morning. The digital wife I'd written complaint letters about because I couldn't remove her underwear in-game. And now she was real. Walking toward me. Breathing actual air. Existing in 3 dimensions instead of pixels. My heart was slamming against my ribs like it was trying to escape and run to her independently. Boom. Boom boom. So loud I was worried the other guards could hear it. Anna noticed. Of course she noticed. 3 guards staring at her maid. 1 guard staring at her with the intensity of a man watching his favorite show come to life. She wasn't used to this. Fear? Yes. Disgust? Plenty. Avoidance? Daily occurrence. But someone looking at her with genuine warmth and what could only be described as admiration? That was new. That was suspicious. That was terrifying. Behind my harmless smile, I was screaming internally, play it cool, Lin. You are a professional. You are not a fanboy. Stop looking at her like she's a limited edition figurine that just came to life. But she basically was. And I was basically doomed. Who are you? 2 words. That's all Anna said. And the 3 noble boys beside me collectively lost about 10 years of their lives. She walked toward us in her black boots, and with every step, the temperature in the room dropped by roughly 15 degrees. The air itself got heavier. It was like standing in front of a tsunami that had decided to wear heels and a lace dress. My 3 fellow guards instantly ripped their eyes away from Katie the beautiful maid and stared at the floor like it contained the secrets of the universe. Wilson, the white-haired duke's son? His legs gave out. Just folded, like someone pulled his batteries out. He was sitting on the ground, trying very hard not to cry in front of everyone. Cape, the golden-haired pretty boy, was sweating through his fancy uniform like he'd just run a marathon in a sauna. Shuss, the blue-haired analytical one, was swallowing so hard his throat looked like it was doing push-ups. And me? I was standing there, staring directly at her, heart pounding like a war drum, thinking, she's even more beautiful in person. I know. I have problems. See, Anna normally had to disguise this killing aura of hers. Wear soft pink dresses, cute masks, act approachable. She even used body doubles for charity events because her real presence scared people so badly they'd refuse her help. Today, though, she wasn't pretending. Black lace dress, simple mask, full terrifying glory. She was testing us, seeing who would crack first. Spoiler, everyone cracked except me. Katie the maid was about to introduce us formally, but Anna raised her hand. Let him speak for himself. Cape, bless his narcissistic soul, assumed she was asking about him. Because of course, who else could possibly attract a princess's attention? He was the darling of every nobleman's wife in the kingdom. I am Cape Pella, son of Marquis Pella. Your Highness, he stammered. I wasn't asking you. Cape deflated like a punctured balloon. His entire worldview collapsed. Someone wasn't interested in him. Impossible. A mathematical error. Must be a glitch in the universe. Shush tried next, summoning every ounce of courage he had. Your Highness, I am Shush Ditter, son of Earl Ditter. From this day forward, I shall be responsible for your safety, not you either. His bravery popped like a soap bubble in a blender. Then everyone looked at me. The only person in the room who hadn't been trembling, sweating, or sitting on the floor. Lian Hall, I said, smiling. It's an honor to be your guard. Why were you staring at me like that? Oh boy. Here we go. You're exactly how I imagined you'd be, I said. Every single person in the room, Katie, Wilson, Shuss, Cape, turned to look at me like I'd just announced I was going to juggle live grenades. Wilson's eyes nearly popped out of his skull like a cartoon character. Anna tilted her head, intrigued despite herself. Imagined? What did you imagine? Beautiful, powerful, dangerous, yet captivating. One of a kind. Unlike anyone else. The only person who can truly save this empire. I said it the way you'd comment on the weather. Casual. Matter of fact. Like I was saying, the sky is blue, or water is wet. Because to me, it was that obvious. Wilson looked like he was witnessing a man voluntarily walk into a volcano. Cape's jaw unhinged. Shush forgot how to blink. This woman, beautiful? She turned the motley battlefield into a meat grinder. She was a walking natural disaster in a dress. Looking at her gave people nightmares for weeks. And this lunatic was calling her captivating? You said I'm beautiful? Captivating? Anna repeated, like she was tasting words she'd never heard before. Yes, Katie, the maid, was already mentally lighting candles at my funeral. She'd seen men try to flatter Anna before. The last one who attempted it got turned into dog food. Not metaphorically. Literally. She could already see the headlines. Earl's newly discovered son has shortest career in history. And a step closer. Way past normal social distance. Past awkward distance. Into, I can count your eyelashes, distance. I could feel her breath. She could probably hear my heartbeat doing its best impression of a heavy metal drummer. Look into my eyes. Tell me you're not lying. Her eyes turned blood red. This was her power, nightmare. She could drag people into a dream world she controlled, a mental interrogation room where lies were impossible to hide. The world around me shifted. Everyone's faces got foggy, covered in a thin mist. We were in her domain now. Her rules. Her playground. But here's the thing, I had insurance. Remember Hera? My dragon maid. The night before, I'd spent an absolute fortune getting her drunk on 10 bottles of 1966 Lafite. 10 bottles. Do you know how much that costs? I could have bought a small house. but I needed her drunk enough to convince her to shapeshift. See, unlike the terrifying giant dragons you see in movies, Hera's true form was, well, she was pocket-sized, a tiny dragon about the size of your palm. Adorable. And she absolutely hated anyone knowing this. Getting her to transform required enough alcohol to fill a swimming pool and enough smooth-talking to sell ice to a penguin. But it was worth it, because a sleeping mini Hera tucked inside my coat acted like a supernatural bulletproof vest, blocking 90% of mental attacks. Anna's nightmare power hit me like a water gun instead of a cannon. I could think clearly. I could choose my answer. I wasn't lying, I said, keeping my face appropriately blank and dreamy, like someone properly under mind control. What was the first thing you thought when you saw me? Now this was the million gold pound question. I mentally shuffled through my options like a poker player. Option A, I want to serve you loyally. Too suspicious. She'd never buy it from a stranger. Option B, I want to save you. Even worse. She'd think I was insane or plotting something. Option C, I want to help you become a better person. Terrible. That's how you get turned into fertilizer. Option D, sleep with you. I went with D. Sleep with you, I said. The room might as well have exploded. If the other three could hear inside this dream, they'd have died on the spot. Katie would have fainted. Wilson would have actually cried. But here's why it was the right answer. Anna had spent her entire life surrounded by liars. Schemers. People who pretended not to be scared, who faked loyalty, who wore masks thicker than hers. She could smell political maneuvering from a mile away. But raw, stupid, honest desire from a young man who found her attractive? That was something she had never encountered. Not once. No man had ever looked at her and thought that. She was the woman who made battle-hardened soldiers wet themselves. Romance was not in her vocabulary. She blinked. Actually blinked. First time I'd seen anything besides cold indifference on her face. Then she recovered, her composure snapping back like a rubber band. She started talking about how nobles had all sorts of weird fetishes. Some liked twins. Some liked girls in wheelchairs. Some liked women in masks for the mystery. And you? She turned those crimson eyes back on me. You think my mask is to add mystery? To please men like you? And before I could answer, she ripped off her mask. On the left side of her face, covering nearly a quarter of her cheek, was a living flower. The flower of finality. Black petals, slowly pulsing, embedded in her skin like a parasite wearing a corsage. The physical mark of the curse that was eating her alive from the inside out. This was the thing that made grown men scream. The reason every fiancé ran. The image that gave soldiers nightmares. Anyone who saw it felt an overwhelming, instinctive wave of disgust and terror rising from the deepest pit of their stomach. She wanted to watch me crumble. Wanted to see me stumble backward, crash into a wall, whimper in a corner like every other man who'd ever seen her true face. She wanted proof that I was just like everyone else. But something happened that she absolutely did not expect. She ripped off her mask, expecting me to scream, run, cry, maybe all three at once. Instead, I reached out and touched the flower on her face. Let me explain what she was showing me. Growing out of her left cheek, covering almost a quarter of her face, was the flower of finality, a living, breathing, cursed blossom embedded in her skin. It pulsed. It moved. It was basically a parasitic plant using a princess as a flower pot. Every person who'd ever seen it had reacted with pure, gut-level horror. Soldiers who'd fought in wars, hardened criminals, even other nobles. All of them recoiled like they'd seen death itself wearing a corsage. And I touched it like it was the most precious thing in the world. Because to me, it kind of was. In the game, this flower was just pixels. A really well-designed texture on a character model. But now, in real life, up close, it was stunning. More detailed than any game artist could dream of. The petals had depth, color variations, an almost hypnotic beauty that screenshots could never capture. And Anna's face. Oh man. Her face. The game developers had done an amazing job with her character model. Sure. Top-tier waifu material. But the real Anna? She made the game version look like a rough sketch. Like comparing a photograph to a crayon drawing. Reality had absolutely no business being this beautiful. What are you doing? Anna actually stepped backward. Away from me. The woman who made entire armies tremble just retreated from a gentle touch. Let that sink in. She'd spent her whole life surrounded by sharp edges, betrayal, hatred, fear, political knives in the dark. She had armor for all of that. But kindness, softness, genuine admiration, those were weapons she had zero defense against. It was like she'd built a fortress to withstand cannons, and someone showed up with a hug. Sorry, I said. It's just so beautiful. I couldn't help myself. Her brain visibly short-circuited. You could practically see the error messages scrolling behind her eyes. Does not compute. Compliment received. No matching protocol found. Rebooting. This confirmed something important for me. There were no other players in this world. If other gamers had been transported here, Anna would have been swarmed with admirers. She was the #1 waifu in the entire game. Forums dedicated to her. Fan art everywhere. Petition after petition to make her romance route longer. In a world with players, she'd have a fan club with membership cards. But here, in this reality, I was the only person who'd ever looked at her curse mark and thought, gorgeous, instead of, ahhh. I wasn't just a fish in the sea. I was the only fish. And this ocean was all mine. You said, it's beautiful? Anna asked, her voice doing something I'd never heard before, hesitating. The blade of the Empire. Hesitating. Because a boy called her pretty. Yes, but not as beautiful as you. Compared to you, it's just a decoration. And here's the wild part. I wasn't even lying. In the late game, after you break Anna's curse, the flower of finality shrinks down to a tiny pearl-sized blossom that sits just below her left eye, like a red beauty mark. An accessory. A cute little decorative detail on an already perfect face. Of course, we were approximately 8 million steps away from breaking that curse. But she didn't need to know that yet. Anna was now seriously questioning whether her nightmare power was broken. So she did something even more extreme. She untied her hair. Her pale gold hair cascaded down, spreading out in the air in patterns that matched the cursed flower on her face. Imagine Medusa, but instead of snakes, it was flowing golden hair shaped like doom petals. On a battlefield, enemy soldiers would see this and literally forget how to hold their swords. It was her ultimate intimidation form. Make everyone within 100 meters question their life choices. Look. Scared now? She asked, with the confidence of someone who'd never lost this particular game. No. Even more beautiful, I said. Your hair in the sunlight looks like golden wheat fields. Absolutely intoxicating, she snapped. Enough. Shut up. Her hand shot out and grabbed my throat. One explosive burst of strength, and she had me pinned against the wall, feet barely touching the ground. Her crimson eyes were inches from mine, burning like twin supernovas. All she had to do was squeeze, and my neck would snap like a flower stem. My head would pop off like a dandelion in a hurricane. My life was in her hands. Literally. One twitch of her fingers, and it was game over. At least, that's what SHE thought. What she didn't know was that inside my code, a tiny palm-sized dragon was sleeping off 10 bottles of 1966 Lafite. If things went south, one pinch of Hera's tail and my pocket-sized nuclear deterrent would wake up very angry and very hungover. But 2 witches fighting? In a dream world? That would be like detonating 2 atomic bombs in a library. Catastrophic. Absolutely not part of the plan. I needed these women to eventually become friends, or at least people who don't destroy continents trying to kill each other. So I kept Hera's tail unpinched and my mouth working. Tell me, Anna hissed, eyes shifting from crimson to dark purple, a deeper level of nightmare. She normally never went this far with regular humans because it could turn their brains into mashed potatoes. But I was being difficult. Why are you approaching me? What's your real purpose? This was the deepest level of her mental interrogation. Lying was supposed to be impossible here. Good thing I didn't need to lie. I want to survive, I said. A cold, contemptuous smile curled her lips. Finally honest. Who's threatening you? This world is threatening me. What does that mean? Explain. Deep breath. Here goes everything. This world threatens you. Rejects you. That means it threatens me. Rejects me. Because you are my whole world. Thank you for healing me once. Dead silence. Anna froze like someone had used my pocket watch on her. Except time was still moving. She just stopped. Eyes wide. Lips parted. Brain buffering at 0%. In her entire life, every betrayal, every political scheme, every assassination attempt, every fiancé who died mysteriously, nobody had ever said anything like this to her. And she could tell, through the deepest level of her mind-reading power, that every single word was true. Because it was true. During the darkest period of my real life, after a brutal breakup that nearly destroyed me, it was my digital wives who pulled me through. And most of all, night after night, playing through her storyline, finding comfort in a fictional character who understood loneliness better than any real person I knew. She'd healed me without knowing I existed. And now I was telling her that, while she had me pinned to a wall by my throat in a dream dimension. Romance is weird. I healed you? When? Her voice was small, uncertain, a completely different person from the terrifying empress of 30 seconds ago. During the lowest point of my life, imagining being with you was the only thing that kept me going through the hardest times. She let go of my neck. I think she was genuinely afraid she might accidentally kill the first person who'd ever made her feel wanted. This was a woman who could protect an entire empire. She had power that could reshape landscapes. But she'd never once felt like she'd actually helped someone. Not really. Not in a way that mattered to one specific person. Leave. Forget everything that happened. This was just a meaningless dream. The dream shattered. Reality rushed back. I was standing in the hall, flanked by 3 traumatized noble boys. Anna standing before us with her mask back on, expression cold as winter. Only a few seconds had passed in real time. Nobody else knew what happened. Anna believed she'd erased my memory when she kicked me out of the dream. She was wrong. I remembered everything. Every word. Every look. The way her eyes changed when I touched the flower. The way her voice cracked when she asked if she'd really healed someone. All of it, saved permanently in my brain, filed under, reasons I will absolutely save this woman or die trying. I accept your service. Katie, show them their duties. Calm voice. Steady posture. Total composure. But as we walked away, I knew, without looking back, that Anna was standing alone in that hall, fingers touching her mask, wondering for the first time in her life if someone could actually look at the real her and not run. Mission status. Her heart has a crack in the wall. Now I just needed to kick the whole thing down. Princess Anna wakes at 6 a.m. Morning prayers at 7. Breakfast at 8. Mass at 8:30. Study and business from 9 to 11. Katie the head maid was speed running through Anna's daily schedule, like she was reading the terms and conditions nobody ever reads. Except this time my life depended on the fine print. She didn't pause, didn't breathe, just a machine gun of information firing directly at our faces. She likes black coffee and no sugar. Only drinks Platini red wine. Loves cats. Hates dogs. Do not touch her. Not even her skirt hem. She frequents the study, the sword room, the banquet hall, and the royal palace. Your free time starts after 10 p.m. She was walking ahead of us, giving us the grand tour of Black Rose Castle, and I was absorbing every word like a sponge made of pure concentration. My 3 colleagues. They were absorbing something else entirely. The view of Katie's backside in that blue tailcoat uniform. Katie spun around with the precision of a trained killer. Her eyes swept over Cape, Schuss, and Wilson like a searchlight over cockroaches. Did you remember any of what I just said? Cape, golden hair gleaming, flashed his trademark lady killer smile. Miss Katie, your voice is like heavenly music, Schuss went with. Miss Katie, you'd look even more stunning in a proper dress. Why limit your charm with men's clothing? Wilson just stared at his shoes. I didn't remember any of it. At least Wilson was honest. The other 2 were just openly flirting with the woman who could apparently shoot an arrow through your skull from 100 paces. Brave or stupid? Probably both. Then Katie looked at me, expecting disappointment number 4. Princess Anna wakes at 6 a.m., I began. Morning prayers at 7. Breakfast at 8. Mass at 8:30. Study and business from 9 to 11. I repeated every single thing she'd said. Word for word. Comma for comma. Not a syllable out of place. She likes black coffee without sugar, Platini red wine, loves cats, hates dogs, doesn't like being touched, not even her skirt hem. Frequents the study, sword room, banquet hall, and royal palace. The silence that followed was beautiful. Cape looked at me like I'd just performed actual magic. Schuss forgot Katie's legs existed for approximately 3 seconds. Wilson's mouth was hanging open so wide a pigeon could have nested in it. How did you do that? Cape sputtered. You actually listened? Schuss was genuinely shocked. You weren't distracted by Katie's perfect curves? Wilson blurted out, then immediately looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole. Katie's expression shifted from dealing with idiots to, finally, someone with a brain. She even used a formal honorific when addressing me. Very good, Sir Lianhall. I look forward to working with you. As for the other three, she looked at them the way you'd look at something stuck to the bottom of your shoe. From that point on, the tour became Katie and Leon's pleasant stroll, with 3 unwanted puppies trailing behind us. She told me things I already knew from the game: exit routes, restricted areas, and his moods. But I played along perfectly, surprised in all the right places. Attentive, professional. She led us to the east wing of the castle. This will be your quarters. You'll live here for 3 months. After that, one of you may find spring, and the rest will find freedom. Translation: one of us would become Anna's fiancé. To Cape, Schuss, and Wilson, this wasn't spring. This was hell with fancy wallpaper. The room was a 4-person dormitory. 4 beds. 1 room. With these guys. Do we have to live here? Wilson squeaked. Can't we go home? No. Can I get a single room? I asked. I'm not used to sharing. Katie nodded immediately. Yes, you may. The other 3. US too. We also want single rooms. Katie's gaze could have frozen lava. Guards who can't even remember the princess's schedule don't deserve single rooms. She wanted to say, useless wastes of oxygen, but their fathers were a duke, an earl, and a marquis, so she went with the diplomatic version. Still devastating though. All 3 wilted like flowers in a microwave. Now, here's where I did something clever. I could have just taken my single room and let them suffer. But that would have made me the privileged teacher's pet, and I needed allies, not enemies. Miss Katie, I said calmly, I believe Duke Constantine, Earl Ditter, and Marquis Pella didn't send their sons here to be mistreated. They deserve equal treatment. Katie's eyebrows rose. She turned on me with that. Do you know who you're talking to? Look. Full authoritative pressure. The kind of stare that makes soldiers confess to crimes they didn't commit. Do you know what you're saying? Yes, Mississippi. I do. The 3 boys behind me simultaneously stopped breathing. They were terrified I'd just signed all our death warrants. Katie wasn't just a pretty face in a suit. She was Anna's battlefield second-in-command. A legendary archer who could put an arrow through a coin at 100 steps. Messing with her was like poking a tiger with a chopstick. Fine, she said. You all get single rooms. Report to me at 5 a.m. sharp tomorrow. I don't tolerate tardiness. She turned and left. And as she walked away, the tiniest smile crept onto her lips. Something interesting had finally arrived at Black Rose Castle. I let out a big dramatic sigh, pretending to be relieved after a close call. Wilson looked at me like I was a superhero. Leanne, you're amazing. Schuss grabbed my shoulder. Lianhall, from today, you're my brother. Cape draped his arm around me. Honestly, I was kind of looking forward to sharing a bed with you. Sounds like you were already preparing to present your backside, I said flatly. 1 beat of silence. Then all 4 of us exploded with laughter. The tension shattered like cheap glass. My calculation was perfect. If only I got a single room, I'd be the outsider, the favorited one, the target. But by fighting for everyone's single room, I became the hero, the leader, the guy who had their backs. Within minutes, they were sharing their deepest thoughts with me like we'd been friends for years. Cape, I desperately want to spend a night with Miss Katie. Schuss, I need to perform well or my family will cut me off. Wilson, I want to go home. I've never slept away from my house before. These were my teammates for the next 3 months. A horn dog, a tryhard, and a homesick baby. Fantastic. By the time we finished dinner and navigated the absolutely enormous castle back to our rooms, it was 9 p.m. I closed my door, locked it, and very carefully reached into my coat. I pulled out a tiny, palm-sized sleeping dragon and placed her gently on the bed. Poof! One flash of light later, the adorable pocket dragon was gone. In her place lay Hera, fully transformed back, silver hair fanning across the pillow, crimson eyes blazing with fury. Also completely naked. She crossed her arms, which did absolutely nothing to contain the landscape. If anything, it made things significantly worse. Or better, depending on your perspective. My perspective was trying very hard to look at the ceiling. You, she snarled, got me drunk. My nose was staging a full rebellion. I could feel a nosebleed loading at 97%. Emergency protocol. I ripped off my jacket and threw it over her like a life-saving blanket. SHHH. We're not at home anymore. Hera glared at me with the intensity of a woman who'd been tricked into becoming a pocket accessory for an entire day. A woman who was also an ancient dragon. A woman who was also very, very naked under my jacket. I was going to need a much bigger jacket, and probably a cold shower, and maybe a priest. 3 months of this. Living in a castle with a cursed princess I was trying to save, a dragon lady I was trying not to look at, 3 noble idiots I was trying to befriend, and a terrifyingly competent maid I was trying to impress. Spring or hell? Katie had asked. Both. Definitely both. Where are we? Hera looked around the tiny bedroom like she'd been downgraded from first class to a storage closet. Small room, basic desk, plain walls. The only thing with any character was some old brickwork that had probably been there since dinosaurs roamed the earth. Did that idiot Earl finally kick you out? She asked. Instead of answering, I grabbed her hand and pulled her to the window. Because outside that window, completely different story. Gorgeous black rose gardens stretching into the distance. Elegant pavilions. An army of servants bustling through the grounds like a well-oiled machine. And beyond it all, the Cecil River sparkling in the light like liquid diamonds. We're in Black Rose Castle? Yep. I told you I'd help you find the remains of the Pale Feast Lord. Getting close to Princess Anna is step 1. She's the target of the revelers' cult. Track her, and we track them. Track them, and we find their god's bones. Hera's eyes lit up. So we grabbed the princess and threatened the revelers into handing over the remains. Are you serious? Anna and the revelers are enemies. Would you hand over your god's sacred bones to save someone you hate? She thought about it, shook her head. Then her hand twitched, and dark energy started forming into a sword. Did you just call me stupid? Look what I brought you. Strawberry cake. Emergency dragon calming device. Works every time. The dark sword evaporated like it never existed. Hera snatched the cake and started eating, still glaring at me between bites. Call me stupid again, she mumbled through a mouthful of frosting. And I'll make you taste despair. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. The cream on her chin really sold the intimidation factor. But right in the middle of my smug satisfaction, my head suddenly spun like a merry-go-round on fast forward. Pain. Whispers. That horrible deep-sea mumbling creeping back into my ears. The silent pocket watch's side effects. I'd only used it once, and every day since, my brain felt like someone was slowly stirring it with a rusty fork. Normal humans weren't meant to carry supernatural artifacts. It was like giving a goldfish a flamethrower, technically possible, almost certainly fatal. I needed help, and the only person who could provide it was currently getting strawberry frosting on my bedsheets. Time for some acting. Hera, I said, letting genuine pain seep into my voice, which wasn't hard, because my skull was actually splitting. I want to keep helping you, but the corruption is getting worse. Maybe I have 2 weeks. Maybe 6 months. Eventually, I'll just become a drooling lunatic muttering nonsense in a corner. Unless you can purify me, I'll have to tell you the whole plan and you can execute it yourself. Oh, okay. Tell me the plan then. Cold. Ice cold. Zero hesitation. Don't think for a second that feeding this dragon a few meals bought me any loyalty. She'd watch me meld into a puddle of insanity and step over the puddle to get to lunch. Fine. The plan goes like this. I then spent 30 minutes explaining the most unnecessarily complicated, deliberately confusing plan in human history. I threw in fake steps, circular logic, random tangents, and enough information to make a supercomputer crash. It was like trying to memorize the multiplication tables while someone simultaneously reads you the periodic table in reverse. Say it again, Hera demanded, refusing to admit she was lost. I said it again. For another 30 minutes. Except this time, I changed several details. Wait, this plan feels different from the last one. You just weren't listening carefully. It's identical. Want me to say it a 3rd time? My brain is going to explode. She was now genuinely questioning her own intelligence. Was she actually dumb? Why couldn't she remember? She had absolutely no idea I'd been sabotaging her comprehension on purpose. I sighed dramatically. I guess you'll never break your curse. It's my fault, really. I'm just a weak human who can't survive corruption long enough to help you. Hook. Line. Sinker. It's just corruption, she huffed. I'll clean it for you. Then she caught herself. Wait, was she being manipulated? Her eyes narrowed. Our deal is that you help me break my contract and I protect you. Purification is not included in protection. This is a new transaction. You need to offer something new, smart girl. Not that dumb after all. Good thing I came prepared. I pulled out the lead box from my coat and placed it in front of her. Inside, The explosive heart I'd ripped out of Sheila's chest at White Dove Square. A cursed object. Hera's second favorite food group. See, Hera's dietary hierarchy goes like this. Ancient god essence is filet mignon, keeps her alive. Cursed objects are protein shakes, makes her stronger. Regular food is snacks, stops the hunger. I was offering her a protein shake. Her eyes went wide, practically glowing. I pulled the box back. Purify me first. Fine. She leaned in close. Her lips, still smeared with strawberry cream, parted slightly. She stopped exactly 1 centimeter from my mouth. Then she started inhaling, drawing the spiritual corruption out of my body through some kind of mystical dragon vacuum technique. 1 centimeter. That's very close. I can count her eyelashes, close. Oh no, she smells like strawberries, close. I accidentally kissed her. Accidentally. I want that on the record. 100% unintentional. Physics. Gravity. The curvature of the earth. Blame whatever you want. I just happened to close that 1 centimeter gap through absolutely no conscious decision of my own. Hera's ruby eyes went wide. But she didn't pull back. She couldn't. She was mid-purification. Stopping now would leave the job half done. So she kept going while I kept participating in this purely medical procedure. And man, the feeling. Imagine every headache, every whisper, every ounce of mental poison being sucked out of your body like venom from a snake bite. My brain went from screaming static to crystal clear mountain stream. The maddening voices vanished. All I could hear was breathing and heartbeats. It was the spiritual equivalent of a pressure washer cleaning a dirty window. Also, her lips tasted like strawberry cream and felt like jelly. But that's irrelevant medical information. I figured this would take 10 seconds. Maybe less. One use of the watch. How bad could it be? 1 minute passed. 3 minutes. 10 minutes. Was she enjoying this? Was I? What was happening? 15 minutes later, Hera finally collapsed. She fell to her knees, gasping, hands bracing against my thighs just to stay upright. Completely spent. What the hell did you come in contact with? She wheezed. What do you mean? You didn't have 2 weeks. You didn't even have tonight. If I hadn't purified you, you would have gone insane by morning and your body would have dissolved into a pile of rotten meat. You were contaminated way worse than 1 watch use. I froze. Brain working overtime. 1 watch use, 1 cursed object contact. That shouldn't cause that level of corruption. Unless, oh no, the baroness. The very first thing I did in this world. My transaction with the baroness. She must have already been contaminated by dark forces, and she passed it to me through our business arrangement. This world was trying to kill me through intimacy. Even the side quests were booby-trapped. Mental note. Be way more careful about who I do pure business transactions with from now on. Hera, you'll keep helping me, right? I cupped her delicate face in my hands and kissed her again. Her eyes went supernova. If she hadn't just exhausted every drop of energy purifying me, I'd be a smear on the wall right now. This was her first kiss. Well, second now. Both stolen. By the same insect. In the same night. Several centuries of preserved purity. Gone. Like that. To a con artist with strawberry cream on his lips. Let go of me, you animal. I let go. She collapsed to the floor again. And that was the exact moment Wilson opened the door. Poor, innocent, sheltered Wilson. Standing in the doorway. Staring at the scene before him. Me, sitting on the bed. Hera, silver-haired goddess in nothing but my jacket, kneeling between my legs, gasping for breath, white cream still smeared on her lips. The silence lasted approximately 400 years. Wilson swallowed hard. I just wanted to say, my key seems to open all the rooms. His face was the color of a fire truck. His eyes were the size of dinner plates. His brain was clearly trying to delete what it had just seen and failing catastrophically. Sorry for interrupting. He closed the door so fast it nearly broke off the hinges. I didn't even have time to explain. And honestly, what would I say? No. She's actually an ancient dragon, and she was sucking spiritual poison out of my soul through her lips while wearing nothing but my coat. Yeah, much more believable than what he was thinking. Priority 1. Change this lock immediately, before Wilson accidentally walks in on something even more unexplainable. I locked the door, confirmed Wilson was gone, and turned back to Hera. Are we done? Am I clean? She nodded weakly, clearly terrified I'd go for kiss number 3. Very clean. You'll live at least 80 more years. Thank God. I helped her up and handed over the cursed object. She didn't even open the lead box. Just ate the entire thing. Box, lead, cursed heart, everything. She's a dragon. Heavy metals aren't a health concern when your stomach can digest literally anything. Color rushed back into her cheeks. Her legs stopped shaking. Strength returned. And with it, her fury. She spun around and glared at me with enough heat to melt steel. Insect, if you ever kiss me again without permission, I will step on you. Kiss? When did that happen? We were just performing the most sacred and pure purification ritual. Completely clinical. Very professional. I licked the remaining strawberry cream off my lips and smiled innocently. Strawberry cake really is delicious. No wonder she likes it. That night, somewhere in Black Rose Castle, Anna couldn't sleep. And for once, it wasn't because of war, politics, or assassination attempts. It was because of me. I didn't know this at the time, obviously. I was busy dealing with a dragon who wanted to murder me for stealing her first kiss. Twice. But while I was locking my door and praying Wilson would develop amnesia, Anna was lying in her silk sheets, staring at the ceiling, replaying my words like a broken record. Does someone truly find me beautiful? She actually got up, walked to her mirror, and examined herself. Head to toe. Every detail. For the first time in her life, she looked at her own body and thought, yeah, everything below the neck is pretty great. Legs? Perfect. Waist? Perfect. Everything? Perfect. Then she looked at her face and hated herself again. She climbed back into bed and pulled the covers over her head like a sad burrito of self-loathing. This woman could command armies, reshape politics, and terrify entire nations. But she couldn't look in a mirror without flinching. My heart would have shattered if I'd seen it. But she wasn't alone in that room. Because Anna had a secret, a shadow. You seem different tonight. Is it because of Lee N. Hall? The voice came from the darkness. A girl named Annie stepped forward. Not a princess. Not nobility. An orphan whose mother was a slave, rescued from a life worse than hell because she happened to look almost identical to Anna. Anna had adopted her, raised her like a twin sister, and turned her into the ultimate body double. Annie was the one who attended charity events. Annie was the one who smiled at diplomats and made small talk at parties. Annie was the fake Anna that everyone actually liked because she didn't have the curse. People around her felt comfortable instead of terrified. She could do everything Anna couldn't. Be approachable, be warm, be normal. In fact, the only reason the emperor even let Anna compete for the throne was because Annie had been impersonating her for years, making the old man think his scary daughter had somehow become less scary. Without Annie's performance, Anna would still be locked in a tower somewhere, forgotten. The two shared everything. Same room, same information, same face, different fates. There was a catch, though. To overcome the natural revulsion everyone felt around Anna, Annie had undergone something called a blood fusion ritual. They'd cut their palms and mingled their blood together. Only someone who'd done this could be near Anna without feeling that gut-level disgust. Annie was one of very few people on the planet who could look at Anna's real face and feel nothing but gratitude. Well, gratitude was putting it mildly. What Annie actually felt was complicated, obsessive even. She loved Anna the way a moon loves its planet, completely, dependently, and with zero tolerance for anything that might change the orbit. He said, "I'm beautiful," Anna whispered, touching her mask. Annie's expression tightened, because in her mind, only SHE was allowed to think Anna was beautiful. That was their thing, their secret. Some random pretty boy waltzing in and saying the same words felt like someone breaking into their private world and rearranging the furniture. "Don't trust men's sweet talk," Annie said, wrapping her arms around Anna protectively. "He can't possibly care for you the way I do. Remember your last 3 fiancés? They said they loved you while secretly keeping mistresses and trembling at the thought of actually marrying you. I know. I never planned to be with any of them. But Leon seems different." Annie's danger sensors went to maximum alert. Different? Different? No man was allowed to be different in Annie's world. Different meant threat. Different meant someone trying to steal her sister away. "I'll prove to you he's just like all the others," Annie declared. "Annie, what are you planning?" "Just watch the results." Anna sighed and patted Annie's shoulder. "Fine. Do what you want. Just don't go too far. One of these 4 men will eventually become our fiancé," she said. "Our Because whoever Anna chose, it would probably be Annie doing most of the actual relationship stuff anyway. Anna herself had zero intention of falling in love. Love was a fairy tale for people whose faces didn't make children cry. No one will become our fiancé, Annie whispered after Anna fell asleep. No one. Great. So now I had a jealous shadow sister planning to sabotage me, and I didn't even know she existed. This game had so many hidden mechanics. Next morning, 5 o'clock sharp. I showed up at Katie's meeting point looking fresh, alert, and ready for duty. My 3 companions? They looked like zombies who'd been dragged out of their graves before the alarm went off. Cape was yawning so wide you could park a carriage in his mouth. Shu's eyes were at half-mast. Wilson was swaying on his feet like a drunk tree. These boys had never woken up before sunrise in their lives. The church bells hadn't even rung yet. Button your shirts. Stand straight. Look like royal guards, not hungover street performers, Katie barked, channeling every drill sergeant from my previous life. You are the face of your families and the face of Princess Anna. Act like it. The 3 stooges snapped upright so fast I heard spines cracking. Cape buttoned his shirt. Shus fixed his collar. Wilson fumbled with his decorative sword. Katie walked up to Wilson. His heart immediately started jackhammering because, oh no, he was thinking about last night. About walking in on me and Hera. About the scene. And now Katie was standing right in front of him, and his useless teenage brain was replacing Hera with Katie in that mental image, and his face was turning. The color of a ripe tomato. Katie stared at his blushing face with complete confusion, then looked down at his decorative sword, unclipped it, and dropped it on the floor with a clang. Guards don't carry toys. Follow me. We're picking real weapons. She led us to the armory. And oh, my God, the armory. The left wall was medieval Christmas. Daggers, longswords, bows, curved sabers, war hammers, battle axes, enough pointy things to make a museum jealous. The right wall was steampunk paradise, flintlock pistols, revolvers, rifles, and full steam-powered armor, like Iron Man suits designed by Victorian engineers. I picked a revolver. Practical, reliable, fits in a coat. Perfect for a guy whose main survival strategy is shoot problems before they eat me. Cape grabbed a longsword and struck a pose like he was auditioning for a painting. Trust me, a traditional knight's blade better suits someone protecting royalty. Much more elegant. Then he looked at Wilson, who was holding a rifle almost as tall as himself, and burst out laughing. You look like a regular foot soldier. Where's the noble dignity? But it seems really useful, Wilson mumbled defensively. Ignore Cape, Shus said. Pick what works for you. Good advice. I'd rather have useful teammates than stylish corpses. We were just about to leave when we heard it again. That sound. The click, click, click that made 4 grown men simultaneously stop breathing and turn toward the door like meerkats detecting a predator. High heels on stone. She was coming. Morning came, and the princess showed up in a white court dress looking absolutely radiant. And I immediately knew it wasn't Anna. The other 3? Clueless. They were actually confused about why she suddenly seemed less terrifying. Hey, is it just me, or does she seem nicer today? Yeah, boys, that's because this is a completely different human being. But sure, keep thinking she just had a good breakfast. Shus dropped to one knee like a romance novel cover model. Your Highness, good morning. You are like the morning dew, refreshing to the soul. Cape pulled out an actual magic trick, made a rose appear from thin air. Your Highness, you're like a blooming white rose, radiant and pure. This man seriously used a pickup line he'd recycled from hitting on married women at dinner parties. On the princess. Incredible. Wilson hid behind my back and squeaked, gee, good morning. Still scared of the princess who wasn't even the princess. Amazing. Then, Anna, actually Annie, the shadow double, turned her attention to me. They all greeted me. Why didn't you say anything? Her voice was perfect. Same tone, same cadence, same cold authority. If I hadn't spent 1,000 days memorizing every detail of this game's characters, I'd have been fooled too. Even Katie, who knew the truth, stayed silent. Smart woman. She understood that in the pecking order of Anna's inner circle, Annie outranked her by miles. I'm your guard, Your Highness, I said calmly. My job is to follow and protect you, not to make small talk. Greeting you like a suitor doesn't match my role. The 3 stooges suddenly had a collective, oh wait, moment. Right. Guards. We're guards. Not contestants on a dating show. They scrambled back into formation so fast you'd think someone had fired a starting pistol. Annie studied me with those careful eyes. So this was the guy who made Anna lose sleep. Didn't look like much. She'd figure out my angles soon enough. For now, she'd watch. We spent the entire day following the fake princess through Anna's schedule. Every prayer, every meeting, every tedious minute. By dinner time, I was starving and the 3 boys were half dead. Guards couldn't eat with the princess, so we got sent to the servants' dining hall. Servants was generous, though. It was fancier than any restaurant I'd ever been to in my real life. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, food that would make a food blogger weep. I ate. And I also took. Wilson watched me stuff cake after cake into my coat with growing concern. Leanne, you're going to ruin your uniform. Let me get you a plate. You can carry extras back to your room. Oh, yeah, good idea. You're so thoughtful. What Wilson didn't know was that the cakes weren't reaching my pockets. They were being intercepted mid-journey by a palm-sized dragon hiding inside my coat, inhaling pastries like a tiny vacuum cleaner. Hera had discovered the greatest cheat code of her existence. Turn small, hide in someone's clothes, eat unlimited free food, and nobody can see you doing it. She was living her absolute best life in there. Leanne, you must have had a really rough childhood, huh? Cape said sympathetically. He was also a bastard son, so he understood hardship. But he couldn't figure out why I needed 17 slices of strawberry cake when everyone else was full after some goose liver. Yeah, I only recently reunited with family. Before that, I was just a commoner. Don't worry, brother. As long as I, Cape, have a single piece of bread, you won't go hungry. He thumped his chest heroically. Genuinely nice guy. Terrible judgment, amazing heart. And that's when the trouble started. Heh, a bastard son making promises? How charming. Guard Captain Damon. Tall, armored, arrogant, and radiating the energy of a man who peaked in high school and never got over it. He'd been Anna's head guard for years, came from actual nobility, and apparently had a massive problem with illegitimate children, especially good-looking ones. Insecurity is a powerful motivator. Cape slammed his fist on the table. Who are you calling a bastard? Wilson panicked immediately. Don't. Cape, please calm down. Wilson technically had the best family background of anyone present. His father was a duke, but his spine was made of overcooked noodles. He looked at me desperately. Leon, do something. Sorry, I said, looking directly at Damon. I'm also a bastard son. Damon's eye twitched. 2 bastards talking back? In his dining hall? Unacceptable. He stood up, towering over us like a brick wall in a fancy uniform. If you're really here to protect Her Highness, prove your strength. I'll stand right here. Use any weapon, use your fists, use whatever you want. If you can knock me down, you win. If you can't, pack your bags and leave. We don't welcome bastards here. His guards started whooping and hollering like it was fight night at the Colosseum. A crowd formed instantly. Bets were placed. The odds were not in our favor. Damon is a royal knight. Same level as a knight commander. He's a 5-star knight. Even standing still, he's harder to move than a mountain. I bet both bastards are gone by tomorrow. Tonight, more like. Cape, powered by pure wounded pride, charged first. Drew his sword. Lunged with everything he had. Damon didn't dodge. Didn't even flinch. He caught Cape's blade between 2 fingers. Then flicked it back. Cape went flying across the room and landed on his backside, sword clattering away, dignity in shambles. One move. One casual move. The guards erupted in laughter. Pathetic. Get out of my sight. I helped Cape up, sat him in a chair, and dusted off his uniform. He was shaking with frustration. He's too strong. Leanne, I wasn't listening. I was calculating. So if you go down, I said to Damon, you'll never bother us again. Damon laughed like I'd told the funniest joke of the century. That's right, pretty boy. Good. I walked toward him. Not fast. Not slow. Just walking. Like I was strolling through a park on a Sunday afternoon. Hands in my pockets. Expression bored. What's he doing? Trying to walk into him. This is even funnier than the last guy. Look at those noodle arms. This'll be hilarious. Every single guard was cackling. The whole room was one big comedy show starring the idiot bastard who thought he could bump a mountain. Then my shoulder touched Damon's. And Damon launched across the room like he'd been hit by a cannonball. His body cratered into the far wall so hard the stone cracked. Bricks fell. Dust exploded. The mighty five-star knight was buried under rubble, groaning. The laughter died so fast you could hear a pin drop in another country. How? How? Captain Damon got launched. Now, you might be wondering, Leon, you're a normal human. A gamer. A guy whose biggest physical achievement was probably opening a stubborn jar of pickles. How did you send a five-star knight through a wall? 2 words, pocket dragon. Hera, still hiding in my coat, still sticky with cake frosting, had apparently taken offense at someone threatening her food supply. I mean, her host, and provided a tiny, imperceptible boost at the exact moment of contact. Just enough force to turn a casual shoulder bump into a human railgun. Did she do it to protect me? To defend my honor? Out of loyalty and affection? No. She was annoyed that the yelling had interrupted her 17th strawberry cake. Either way, every guard in that room was now staring at me like I'd just pulled a planet out of my pocket. Damon was trying to dig himself out of a wall. Cape was looking at me like I was his new religion. Wilson had forgotten how to close his mouth. And somewhere in the shadows, watching everything, Annie narrowed her eyes. This was supposed to be a simple, pretty boy with a silver tongue. Since when was he a supernatural powerhouse? Her plan to expose me just got a lot more complicated. God must be joking with me. Cape was staring at the Damon-shaped hole in the wall like he'd just witnessed a miracle. Which, from his perspective, he had. From my perspective, I'd just been given an involuntary assist by a cake-drunk pocket dragon who was annoyed that the yelling interrupted dessert time. But hey, results are results. While everyone was still frozen in shock, I casually walked over to one of the guards who'd been loudly betting money on my humiliating defeat. I plucked his coin purse right off the table, bounced it in my palm to feel the weight, nice and heavy, probably full of silver sparrows, and smiled at him. Thanks. The guard looked like he wanted to ask for it back. Then he looked at the wall, then back at me, then at the wall again. He chose silence. Smart man. Consider it a stupidity tax. Damon dragged himself out of the rubble like a man emerging from his own grave. Dust in his hair, pride in pieces, cracks running through the wall behind him like a road map of his bad decisions. Every guard in the room tensed up, ready for round 2. Instead, Damon walked up to me and bowed. I apologize for my disrespect. Regardless of your birth status, you've earned the right to guard Her Highness. You have my respect. Then he turned to his guards. From now on, nobody bothers these 4. Understood? Yes, SIR. And just like that, the bully became my biggest fan. I wasn't surprised. I knew Damon's personality from the game. He despised weakness but worshipped strength. Show him power, and he'd follow you like a loyal dog. Show him a pedigree certificate, and he'd tear it up. Simple man. Predictable. Useful. Cape was looking at me like I was the second coming of whatever god they worshipped here. Wilson was practically vibrating with excitement. And Schuss, who'd missed the whole thing because he'd skipped dinner, came back to find his 3 companions acting like they'd just seen a dragon. Which, technically, they had. They just didn't know it. How did you do that? Cape demanded. You're a transcendent, aren't you? Schuss asked, eyes sparkling with envy. I said nothing, which everyone took as confirmation. Much better than the truth. There's a grumpy lizard in my shirt who flicked him with one finger because he was being too loud during snack time. The conversation naturally drifted to the topic of transcendence, people with supernatural powers, and how they got that way. Turns out, every noble family in this world possessed a secret magic potion that could transform ordinary humans into transcendents. But there was a massive catch. 2 catches, actually. First, drinking the potion meant hearing the whispers of ancient gods for the rest of your life. Constant spiritual pollution. Go crazy, lose control, potentially turn into a monster. It was like getting superpowers from a subscription service where the monthly fee was your sanity. Second, the corruption was hereditary. Have kids after drinking the potion, and congratulations, your babies might come out as eldritch abominations. Nothing says family planning like gambling with your children's DNA. So noble families only gave the potion to expendable people, loyal servants, adopted children, bodyguards, never to their precious heirs. The important kids trained as knights instead, building strength the old-fashioned way through years of exercise and sword practice. Guys like Damon, who'd reached 5-star knight rank through pure training, were basically the legal, organic, non-GMO version of transcendence. I knew all of this from the game. The regular people in this world? Only the tippy top of the power pyramid knew these secrets. Everyone else just saw cool superpowers and wanted them without reading the fine print. Cape sighed. My father won't even let me look at the potion. Wilson nodded sadly. Same. Shish just stared at me with jealousy. Lucky you, becoming a transcendent so young. If only they knew that my transcendent power was actually a hangry dragon who'd eaten the lead container along with the cursed object inside it because she couldn't be bothered to unwrap her food. But their complaints gave me an idea. A beautiful, devious, perfectly manipulative idea. That night, I wrote a letter to my beloved fake father, Earl Hall. And it was a masterpiece of emotional manipulation. If guilt-tripping were an art form, this letter belonged in a museum. Dearest father, it is your humble son, Lien Hall. I have successfully entered Black Rose Castle as Her Highness's guard. However, due to my status as an illegitimate child, I have been unable to fit in. I have been mocked, bullied, and physically assaulted. My frail body may not survive 3 months of this treatment. A kind noble named Wilson mentioned that noble families possess miraculous potions that grant extraordinary strength. I believe I may need such aid, or I fear I cannot endure long enough to fulfill our family's glorious mission. I laid it on thick. Damsel in distress. Loyal son in danger. Family honor at stake. Every sentence was calculated to hit a different pressure point. I even threw in our family's glorious mission, because nothing motivates a scheming nobleman like reminding him of his own schemes. I attached the guard's coin purse as payment for express delivery. By morning, the letter was sitting on Earl Hall's breakfast table. Back at the Earl's manor, the response was predictable and hilarious. Simon, the Earl's actual legitimate son, my so-called brother who was secretly the real child of the Earl, and Jenny, read the letter first and exploded. Those filthy dogs. How dare they bully someone from the Hall family? Ah, Simon. Sweet, naive Simon. The guy had been secretly helping me this whole time. He'd arranged my etiquette tutor and even had the butler warn me about Anna's mask. He genuinely believed I was his long-lost blood brother. The irony was so thick you could spread it on toast. Earl Hall looked at his enraged son with the calm of a man who'd been playing chess since before Simon could walk. You're still so impulsive, Simon. But father, Lien represents our family. He shouldn't be treated. I know you care about your brother. I know you hired him a tutor. I know you told the butler to warn him about Anna. But Simon, we must think of the family. If Lien doesn't go, you go. If you don't go, one of your real brothers goes. Someone must be sacrificed. Simon deflated instantly. The old man saw everything. Every secret kindness, every behind-the-scenes favor. Nothing escaped this walrus. Butler, prepare a potion. Yes, sir. Wait. Father, you're giving him a potion? Simon's concern curdled into jealousy faster than milk in lemon juice. He'd been begging for a potion for 3 years. 3 years of groveling, promising, pleading. And his father was just going to hand one to the new guy? The guy who showed up 2 weeks ago with a cheap necklace? Father, I can serve the family too. I'll guard the second princess. Just give me a potion. The Earl shook his head slowly. When you become head of the Hall family, you'll understand the truth about potions. If they were so wonderful, why haven't I taken one myself? That shut Simon up completely. He'd never thought about it that way. Why hadn't his father, with all his resources and ambition, become a transcendent? What did the old man know that he didn't? The answer, which only I knew, was that the Earl valued his sanity and his bloodline more than superpowers. He'd happily sacrifice a fake son's mental health, but never his own family's genetics. Trust me, the Earl said, puffing his cigar. This gift will ensure Lien's absolute loyalty to our family. After all, it's the supernatural power every ordinary person dreams of. Oh, you beautiful, predictable old walrus. You thought I wrote that letter because I was scared of Anna. You thought I was a terrified boy begging for protection. You had no idea that I specifically engineered this entire situation to get you to voluntarily hand me the one thing I needed most in this world. A magic potion, delivered free of charge, by the man I was actively scamming. Identity. Made it up. Family connection. Fabricated. Emotional letter. Performance art. Free supernatural powers. On the way. Being a con artist in a fantasy world is the greatest career choice I've ever made. 1 week after sending my Oscar-worthy guilt trip letter, a package arrived at my door. Inside, 1 glass vial of magic potion. Free of charge. courtesy of my beloved fake daddy. I locked the door, sat on my bed, and held it up to the light. The liquid inside was alive, slowly swirling on its own, colored like a sunset drowning in blood, dark red at the center, edges glowing like molten gold. Heat radiated through the glass. Not fire heat. Something older. Something primal. Like holding a heart that had just stopped beating but hadn't gotten the memo yet. Seeing a magic potion in real life versus seeing one through a game menu? Completely different experience. In the game, it was just an icon you clicked. Here, it was beautiful and terrifying, and I could feel it wanting to be consumed. Hera was perched on top of my head in her tiny dragon form, tail dangling over my forehead like a lazy cat. "You sure about this?" she asked when I opened. Boiling blood is the most short-lived potion. I know, every magic potion had its price. Some made you insane. Some mutated your body. Boiling blood? It was refreshingly honest about its deal. It didn't touch your mind. It just ate your lifespan. Every time you used its power, you were literally burning years off your life like throwing logs into a furnace. But let's be realistic here. The apocalypse was on its way. Living to 100 meant nothing if the world ended at 27. Better to have superpowers for a short life than be a regular human for a slightly less short life that ends with being eaten by an eldritch abomination. "Unless you want to lend me your power," I suggested casually. "Absolutely not." Fair enough. She still had a previous contract to break before she could make new ones. And she was too busy plotting revenge against her ex-contract partner to consider dating again. Emotionally unavailable dragon. Classic. Then just help clean the pollution afterward. Please and thank you. Fine. Annoying insect. Her tiny tail swished across my scalp dismissively. I took a deep breath, pulled the cork, raised the vial, drank. Imagine swallowing a necklace of red-hot iron balls, each one burning a trail down your throat like a tiny meteor. That's what it felt like. Not liquid. Solid chunks of pure fire rolling down my esophagus, scorching everything they touched. My breath locked. I grabbed the table edge so hard the wood groaned. Then it hit my stomach and detonated. Not warmth. Not heat. The roar of a blast furnace's core. I doubled over, teeth grinding so hard I thought they'd shatter. The potion was disintegrating, breaking into billions of white-hot particles that punched through my stomach wall, invaded my bloodstream, and rushed through every vein and artery like lava flooding a cave system. My skin turned red. Face first, then neck, arms, everywhere. Lobster red. Cooked shrimp red. Someone call an ambulance red. Sweat burst from every pore and immediately evaporated, creating a thin layer of steam around my body. I was literally smoking like a human barbecue. I looked at my hands. The veins were glowing, bulging under the skin, pulsing with dark red light, looking exactly like underground rivers of magma visible through cracked earth. It was simultaneously the coolest and most horrifying thing I'd ever seen happening to my own body. "Focus. Guide the energy." Hera snapped from atop my head. She sounded annoyed about helping, but she was helping anyway. Weeks of free food had apparently purchased a tiny sliver of concern. "Don't let it burn out your heart, insect." My bones started making sounds. Not cracking, forging. Like an invisible blacksmith was hammering every single bone, reforging them from scratch. Aching, stretching, then a strange sensation of hardness spreading outward from the marrow. My skeleton was becoming denser, tougher, built to handle what was coming. Then my muscles joined the party. They tightened, compressed, then expanded. My fitted silk shirt ripped at the shoulders and back. Not Hulk style. I didn't balloon into a muscle mountain. It was more like being compressed into a loaded spring. Lean, dense, every fiber packed with explosive power waiting to be released. My heartbeat became a war drum. Boom, boom, boom. Each pulse sending supercharged blood screaming through my rebuilt body. And then I heard it, or rather, felt it. My blood wasn't flowing anymore. It was boiling, bubbling, rolling with heat and pressure like water in a kettle that had been left on the stove for too long. I was a sealed pressure cooker with no release valve, and if I didn't find one soon, I opened my eyes. In the depths of my pupils, a spark of molten gold ignited and spread across my entire iris. The world transformed. Everything appeared in thermal vision. The stone walls were deep blue cold. Hera was a warm orange dragon-shaped blob on my head, and I was a walking, blazing white-hot inferno. I let go of the table. 5 finger-shaped dents remained in the wood. The edges were slightly melted. I clenched my fist. I could feel it. Raw, overwhelming, intoxicating power. I could punch through this stone wall. I could outrun a galloping horse. I could cross the entire guard barracks in 3 seconds flat. Boiling blood. The potion that turns your life into fuel and your body into a weapon. Right now, I could casually destroy Damon the 5-star knight without Hera's help. But I still couldn't beat a weakened Hera. I was basically a freshly turned vampire, strong by human standards, a baby by supernatural ones. This was only the awakening stage. 3 levels existed: awakening, transformation, and perfection. Reaching the next level required deep meditation, understanding the potion's core philosophy, or consuming rare catalysts like resonance crystals. I needed a teacher. And fortunately, my teacher was currently sitting on my head, licking goose liver grease off her tiny claws. You can't expect one excellent woman to be your maid, your bodyguard, and your teacher, Hera complained. Humans are so greedy, always wanting this and that, and I placed a plate of premium goose liver in front of her face. Her lecture evaporated faster than sweat off my superheated skin. She popped the whole piece in her mouth and started talking with her cheeks full. To stabilize your current state, you need to meditate first. Yummy. To meditate, close your eyes and empty your mind. Not that delicious. Just okay. Imagine something that doesn't exist in this world. If you focus hard enough, you'll enter meditation quickly. Okay, fine. It's actually pretty good. For deep meditation, you'll need external help, sleeping pills, sedatives, special drugs, or magic. Is there more goose liver? Following her instructions, delivered between chewing sounds and food reviews. I closed my eyes and tried to imagine something that didn't exist in this world. My brain immediately conjured Peking duck. Beautiful, crispy, glistening Peking duck. Thin slices of golden skin laid on a white plate. Spring onions. Cucumber strips. Sweet bean sauce. Everything wrapped in a soft, warm pancake. That first bite, the crunch of the skin, the tender meat, the fresh snap of cucumber, the sweetness of the sauce all exploding together. Wait, why Peking duck? Of all the impossible things I could imagine, smartphones, the internet, airplanes, anything, my meditation anchor was roast poultry? Because someone had been whispering, food, 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 in my ear for the last 20 minutes. And now my subconscious was a restaurant menu. Thanks, Hera. The Peking duck somehow connected to a vision of the cosmos. Stars and galaxies swirling around a perfectly roasted bird floating in the void of space. It was the most absurd mental image imaginable, and it worked perfectly. 30 minutes later, my head felt swollen and my stomach was growling loud enough to wake neighbors, so I dropped out of meditation. Hera's eyes sparkled with entrepreneurial energy. Want me to tell you Boiling Blood's core philosophy? For a small additional fee? Of course. No thanks. I already know it. You what? She stared at me like I'd just told her the sky was actually green. Yeah, I knew. Boiling Blood's core concept was about converting your life, your time, into pure energy. Burning your own existence for one brilliant moment of absolute power. It celebrated desperate courage and stared into the void of sacrifice. The most direct, most cruel, and most beautifully human supernatural force in existence. A potion that said, your life is finite. Spend it like it matters. 2 paths existed to reach the next level. And I knew both of them. Because I'd read every single wiki page, forum post, and strategy guide for this game before the universe decided to make it my reality. Hera was still staring at me, mouth slightly open, a crumb of goose liver on her lip. How do you know these things? She whispered. I just smiled. Lucky guess. The ancient dragon who'd lived for millennia was being consistently out-knowledged by a 20-something gamer from another dimension. And honestly, I think that bothered her more than the stolen kisses. So while I was busy upgrading myself from regular squishy human to slightly less squishy human with fire blood, and his little shadow sister was building a case against me like a jealous detective on a reality TV show. Let me set the scene. Annie, the secret body double, the girl who looked exactly like Anna but without the curse, had spent an entire week hiring private investigators, collecting reports, and basically stalking my past life. She marched into Anna's bedroom, waving a stack of papers like she'd just solved a murder mystery. Which, ironically, she kind of had. I told you this guy was bad news. Annie was practically bouncing off the walls. Look, before he came to the capital, he lived in some backwater town called Greenwater, managed by Baron Cobb. And guess what? He was seducing the Baron's wife. He was her lover. Annie delivered this like it was a nuclear bomb of scandal. Anna looked at the report with the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list. We already knew he was an illegitimate child. And do you have proof? Well, witness statements. But no photographs. Because, you know, it was after the fact. Annie deflated slightly. No smoking gun photo. Just gossip. Everyone has an ugly past, Anna said quietly. Maybe he was desperate. Maybe circumstances forced him. Wait, was Anna making excuses for me? The Ice Queen? The woman who trusted nobody? She was actively looking for reasons to give me a pass? Annie's jaw tightened. This was not going according to plan. Is he still in contact with the Baroness? Anna asked. No, because she's dead. Annie pulled out a newspaper clipping. Headline: Baroness murdered by gunshot. Killer still at large. She was killed the same day she was with her lover. The lover disappeared right after. Conclusion? Leon is probably the murderer. Why else would he run? So you're saying the Hall family sent a killer to get close to me? Annie nodded triumphantly, arms crossed. Exactly. We should hold the entire Hall family accountable. Then Katie, bless her logical half-elf soul, spoke up. For noble sons, having blood on their hands isn't particularly unusual. And we have no direct evidence that Leon killed anyone. Why are you defending him too? Annie stomped her foot like a child who'd been told Christmas was canceled. I'm simply stating facts, Katie replied with the emotional warmth of a filing cabinet. But behind those cold eyes, she was fuming. Annie had hired a private detective without telling her. The head maid, the woman responsible for security. That wasn't just an insult. That was Annie publicly declaring that Katie couldn't do her job. If Katie let a problematic person near Anna, that was Katie's failure. Annie going around her was basically writing, incompetent, on her forehead. The tension between these two women could have powered the entire castle steam system. If you want to know if he did it, Anna said, standing up, I'll find out myself. If he's guilty, I'll personally send him to prison. Annie finally smiled. Victory. Or so she thought. But then Anna kept reading the report. And something caught her eye. It says the Baroness and Leon visited the black market the day she died. Why would they go there? Who knows? Probably buying illegal drugs or cursed objects or whatever shady stuff people buy in black markets. Annie shrugged. Katie, what did the Containment Bureau say about the White Dove Square incident? They detected traces of a supernatural artifact at the scene. Anna flipped more pages. The report showed that on the day of the White Dove Square incident, Leon was also at the square. He'd suspiciously climbed the clock tower. He'd purchased meat wraps and a lead box that morning. Meat wraps, lead box, clock tower, square. The gears in Anna's brilliant mind clicked into place like a royal combination lock. Annie, you accidentally found something very interesting. Of course, I'm your most reliable partner. Annie puffed up with pride. Shadow, Katie corrected her title flatly. Because apparently these two couldn't go 30 seconds without taking shots at each other. I'm going to see Leon. Right now? Now? It's the middle of the night. Maybe wait until morn. Anna was already out the door. Annie couldn't follow. The shadow and the real person could never appear outside at the same time. Rules of the game. Congratulations, Shadow Miss, Katie said with a smile that contained approximately 17 layers of meaning. You did well. Katie had already figured out what Anna was thinking. And it wasn't, Leon is a murderer. It was, Leon might be the mysterious person who saved me. Annie, still clueless about the beautiful disaster she'd just created, puffed up her chest at Katie. Next time, screen people more carefully before letting random strays near Her Highness. Understood? Of course, Shadow Miss. I'll remember. Katie's smile could have cut glass. Meanwhile, I was in my room, freshly powered up, probably still smelling like steam and boiled blood, when someone knocked on my door. Late at night. Unexpected. I shoved Hera into my coat. She grumbled something about personal space and human sweat, and opened the door. Standing there was Anna, in a pure black court dress, so perfectly tailored it looked painted on. High rough collar framing her jawline like she'd been carved from ice by a master sculptor. Black lace mask so intricately woven it must have taken someone a year to make. And behind the lace, her eyes were already glowing crimson. Nightmare mode. Activated. Before I could even say, good evening. Oh, come on. We hadn't seen each other in days, and her greeting was a psychic interrogation? Not even a hello? Not a how's the new job? Just straight to ripping open my brain like a Christmas present? The world shifted. Reality melted. I was in her dream domain again. But thanks to my pocket dragon insurance policy, I could still think clearly. Small blessings. The dreamscape rebuilt itself around us. First the castle hallways, then they morphed into something I recognized immediately. White Dove Square. Crowded. Bustling. And there, stepping out of a carriage with a basket of bread, was Sheila the maid, walking toward the children. Just like that day, Anna was replaying the scene. She wasn't interested in whether I'd killed the baroness. She wanted to know if I was the one who'd saved her. And more importantly, why? I looked at the dream recreation of the square, at the children gathering around Sheila, at the invisible bomb ticking inside a dead woman's chest. Anna was watching me, studying my reaction, looking for any flicker of recognition. Well, Anna, you wanted answers? Let's see how much truth you can handle. So there I was, stuck inside Anna's dream world, facing a ticking bomb situation, literally. Sheila was about to explode in the middle of White Dove Square, surrounded by thousands of innocent people. And me? I had absolutely nothing useful on me. No magic watch, no weapons, no plan. But then my beautiful brain kicked in. See, this is a dream. Nothing here is real. Which means the rules are whatever Anna believes they are. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out a random silver coin. Just a regular, boring coin. But I opened my mouth and started selling it like a street merchant on his best day. This coin, I announced dramatically, is a one-time extraordinary item that can stop time for 3 seconds. I even explained exactly how it works, because Anna needed to believe it so she'd make the dream cooperate. Pretty clever, right? I basically tricked the Dream Master into giving me superpowers using nothing but confident nonsense. Anna started questioning me, of course. She wanted to know how I knew about the explosive curse inside Sheila. Here's the thing about her nightmare ability. Anyone trapped in it supposedly tells the truth 100% of the time. What she didn't know is that I'm apparently the exception to that rule. So I mixed truth with lies like a bartender making cocktails. I told her the revelers planted the curse, that Baroness Cobb told me about it, that we went to the black market together to buy that special coin. All half true, half fabricated garbage. And since the Baroness was already dead, nobody could contradict me. Sorry, ma'am, but you're my alibi from beyond the grave now. Then Anna asked the big question, why did I do all this? For you, Your Highness, I said, putting on my most sincere face. Because you once saved me. And because I love you. Yes, I actually said that. Out loud. To the most powerful witch in the Empire. Inside her own dream. Look, desperate times call for desperate romance. Before she could process my love confession, I threw the coin into the air and yelled, time stop, like some anime protagonist. Anna actually played along and froze everyone in the square. I walked through the frozen crowd like the coolest person alive, ripped open Sheila's chest, pulled out a crystal heart thing, shoved it in a lead box, and saved the day. Then I grabbed Anna's hand and ran. Just grabbed it and pulled her through the crowd. The Empire's greatest weapon, the born witch, the living blade of the nation, and I was dragging her by the hand like a boyfriend late for a movie. I could feel her staring at my back. I think something in her frozen heart cracked a little. But the dream wasn't over yet. Anna had one more test. She transported us to Greenwater Town and brought back the Baroness, alive. The Baroness confessed her love, begged me to be with her, and even started taking off her dress. Now listen, I'm a young man with eyes, but I knew exactly what was happening. Anna was testing whether I was really loyal or just another creep. So I picked up that dress faster than I've ever moved in my life, covered the Baroness back up, and delivered my best noble speech about pure friendship and respecting women. I could see Anna watching. She saw the struggle in my eyes. I'm not made of stone, okay, but she also saw me choose honor over temptation. The dream dissolved. I passed the test. When I woke up, Anna was standing at the door like nothing happened. So I bowed politely and asked, Your Highness, did you need something? Just another normal Tuesday of lying to witches, faking superpowers, and rejecting beautiful women inside someone else's dream. My life is exhausting. After Anna left my room, I leaned against the door and exhaled like a man who just survived a job interview with death herself. I did it. I actually survived the dream interrogation, fed her a perfect cocktail of lies and truth, and walked away with all my limbs attached. But the night wasn't done with me yet. The moment Anna disappeared down the hallway, every single door on my floor creaked open like synchronized cockroaches. Wilson, Hughes, and Kep, my lovely neighbors and fellow competitors for Anna's hand in marriage, all poked their heads out with faces full of burning curiosity. Kep practically sprinted to my door. How did you do it? The princess knocked on your door in the middle of the night. Teach me your ways, master. Wilson just gave me a thumbs up with the energy of a man who knows he'd faint if Anna even looked at him sideways. Honest guy, that Wilson. Hughes, though, he shot me one jealous glare that could curdle milk, then slammed his door shut. I could practically hear him clenching his fists and muttering motivational speeches to himself through the wall. Sorry, buddy, but you can't compete with a professional liar who confesses fake love inside magical dreams. I told everyone good night and closed my door. Then I let Hera out from wherever I'd been hiding her. You're welcome, she said immediately, because apparently saving me from becoming a permanent nightmare patient entitled her to maximum attitude. Yes, thank you. Oh, great and powerful Hera. What do you want? Kitchen. Tomorrow morning. First bite of everything the chef makes. Deal. Satisfied with her negotiation, Hera flew up and landed directly on top of my head. Not my shoulder. Not my pillow. My head. She curled up there like it was a throne, clearly believing that sitting on a human's head meant she was the boss. Nobody tell her that the things riding on adults' heads are usually toddlers. Meanwhile, I later learned what happened on Anna's side, and honestly, it was comedy gold. Annie, sweet, scheming, Anna-obsessed Annie, had been waiting eagerly for Anna to return. She was practically bouncing with excitement, expecting to hear that I'd been fired, arrested, or launched into the sun. Did you punish him? Is he packing his bags? Should we call the police? Then Anna dropped the bomb. He's not a murderer. He's been secretly helping me this whole time. The revelers killed the baroness, not him. Annie's face apparently went through all 5 stages of grief in about 2 seconds. She had reported me specifically to get me thrown out, and instead, she accidentally made Anna realize I was her secret guardian angel. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. The phrase, stealing a chicken only to lose the rice, was invented for this exact moment. But the real knockout punch came when Anna quietly said, he told me he admires me. Annie almost fell over. Katie, the sharp half-elf butler, immediately started planning which of my rival cousins to poison so I could inherit a proper noble title. That woman is terrifyingly practical, and I respect her deeply. The worst part for Annie? Anna announced she would personally spend time with me going forward. No more sending Annie as a substitute. Anna wanted to handle me herself. That sound you hear? That's Annie's entire world crumbling like a cookie in hot tea. She stormed out, nearly tripped on her own dress, and swore she'd prove everyone wrong about me. Good luck with that, princess number 2. So there I was, finally ready to sleep. Hera was snoring on my head. The bed was soft. Everything was peaceful. Then someone knocked on my door. Again. I stared at the ceiling and seriously questioned what I did in a past life to deserve this. Just when I thought the universe would finally let me sleep, another knock at my door. I swear this castle has a Botherly Inn schedule posted somewhere. I opened the door and, oh look, it's Annie, pretending to be Anna. Again. She was wearing this champagne-colored silk dress that practically glowed in the candlelight, with a white lace mask covering half her face. She looked absolutely stunning, like a painting that walked off its canvas and decided to ruin my evening. But here's the thing the game designers apparently forgot. Anna always wears dark clothes and a black gold mask. Annie wears light clothes and a white silver mask. It's literally color-coded. A toddler could tell them apart. But sure, let's pretend I'm fooled, because seeing through someone's disguise and keeping your mouth shut, that's adult wisdom right there. Your Highness, did you need something else? I asked innocently. You've done so much for me, she purred with a sneaky glint in her eyes. I should reward you. Then she waltzed right into my room and closed the door behind her. Next door, poor Wilson witnessed the whole thing and nearly had a heart attack from excitement. I could hear him jumping around his room like a happy frog, praising the sun god and celebrating because he thought I'd already won Anna's heart. In his mind, This meant he could safely survive 3 months and go home without marrying the princess whose fiancés keep mysteriously dying. Honestly, I can't blame his logic. Back in my room, Annie pushed me onto the bed. Bold move, honestly. She started unbuttoning my uniform collar while whispering dangerously close to my face about how every one of Anna's fiancés had died from a curse. "Aren't you afraid?" she breathed. "Why would I be afraid? Those are just nasty rumors people made up to hurt you. Even if they're true, I'd gladly accept whatever comes, as long as I can be with you, Princess Anna." I stared deep into her eyes with my best melancholy romantic expression. She actually wavered for a second. I could see the confusion flash across her face. Wait, is this guy actually serious? What Annie didn't know was that Anna was watching everything through their shared magical pendant, the crystal eye. 2 necklaces, one on each of them, letting them see through each other's vision. So while Annie was trying to seduce me, Anna was sitting in her fancy bedroom watching the whole show like it was live theater. And from what I heard later, she was not enjoying it. Fists clenched, chest tight, feeling like someone dropped a rock on her heart. Katie the butler apparently tried to warn Anna that Annie was out of line, but Anna shut her down. Even now, she trusted Annie completely. Sweet but dangerously naive. Then Annie played her trump card. She pulled off her mask, revealing her flawless porcelain face. Identical to Anna's, but without the curse marks. Perfect skin, perfect features, like God's favorite art project. "Now do you like me even more? Don't you want me right now?" This was her trap. If I jumped on her like a hungry wolf, it would prove I only cared about looks and could never truly love the cursed Anna. Too bad for Annie. She picked the wrong con artist to con. I shoved her away instantly, letting pure disgust flood my face. The kind of expression a man makes when he discovers his girlfriend is actually a stranger. Oscar-worthy performance, truly. "You're not Princess Anna," I growled. "Who are you?" Then I pulled out my revolver and pressed it against her chest. "Start talking, or I pull the trigger." Annie's eyes went wide. Her brilliant seduction plan had just crashed and burned so spectacularly that the wreckage could be seen from space. She came here to expose me as a fake, and instead, I just proved my loyalty is bulletproof. Sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted, sweetheart. So Annie stood there with a gun pressed against her chest, staring at me like I'd just slapped her with a fish. Apparently nobody had ever responded to her perfect face by pointing a weapon at it. "First time for everything, sweetheart." She tried to flip the situation. "I am Anna. Maybe you're the assassin here. Nice try. But I had the ultimate comeback ready." Anna has a flower growing on her face. "You don't. Stop lying. You're one of those reveler cultists, aren't you? I'll kill you right now." I pulled the trigger. Bang. And then, poof. Annie vanished and Anna appeared in her place. Apparently, their matching crystal eye pendants can instantly swap their positions. The cost? 1 month of memories. Anna paid that price without hesitation to save Annie from the bullet I absolutely meant to fire. Well, technically I knew Anna would intervene, but Annie didn't need to know that. Anna dodged the bullet like it was moving in slow water, because of course she did. She's a witch. Bullets are probably just spicy air to her. Then she pulled me into another dream. In this version, the whole Annie encounter was rewritten as just a weird nightmare. Clever. This way Annie's secret identity stays protected, and I just, remember, having a strange dream about a fake Anna. Meanwhile, back in reality, Annie was apparently having a complete meltdown. She collapsed on a bed, crying and gulping coffee while babbling to Katie about how I almost murdered her. "He's a maniac. He tried to kill me." Katie's response? "Yeah, and if it wasn't for the princess, you'd be dead. Maybe stop doing stupid things. Beautiful." I love Katie more every day. But Annie, stubborn, glorious Annie, refused to accept defeat. Her new theory? "I'm just not his type." "Katie, you go seduce him next. You're a half-elf. No man can resist you." Katie said no. Annie called her a coward. Katie told Annie she has no authority to give her orders. Annie called Katie a damn half-elf. Katie grabbed Annie's coffee cup and poured it out right in front of her just to be petty. These two are an absolute circus, and I wish I could sell tickets. Now here's where things got interesting. While I was sleeping in my room after the dream, Anna sat down on my bed and watched me. Just sat there, studying my face like I was some kind of puzzle she couldn't solve. She whispered, "You really surprised me," and started to leave. That's when my hand, totally by accident, completely involuntary, definitely not calculated at all, grabbed hers. And my sleeping mouth said, "Don't go, Anna. I love you." She froze. Her face turned red. She leaned in close and poked my cheek with her finger to check if I was really asleep. I gave her absolutely nothing. Professional-grade fake sleeping. Years of practice. Then the most magical accident in history happened. Anna stood up, stepped on her own dress, something she apparently hasn't done since she was 5, and fell face-first onto the bed. Her lips landed directly on mine. I repeat, a 1,000-year level which accidentally kissed me because she tripped on her skirt. It took every molecule of willpower not to bite those jelly-soft lips. But I held still like a champion. She got up, panicked, walked to the door, then came back. She took off her crystal-like pendant so nobody could watch, leaned down, and kissed me again. On purpose this time. "This is your reward for not falling for Annie's seduction," she announced to my sleeping body. Then she practically sprinted out of my room. I waited until she was gone, then shot up from the bed like a spring. Hera crawled out from my shirt with the most serious expression a tiny creature can make. "Based on my observations," she declared, "you're finished." "Finished? Why?" She just stared at me. "You've been targeted by a terrifying witch," Hera announced like she was delivering a death sentence. "Excuse me? You're calling Anna terrifying?" "According to the game lore, you rank higher than Anna on the scary witch leaderboard. You're literally in the top 3. Glass houses, Hera. Glass houses." Then she squinted at me suspiciously. "Wait, why do you look so happy? You actually enjoyed that kiss, didn't you? Do you have some kind of weird fetish?" "Absolutely not," I said with maximum dignity. "What just happened was a carefully calculated test, and I passed it perfectly. Anna now trusts me completely. This means we can form an alliance against the revelers. Everything is going according to plan." Hera flicked her tail. "Fine, but drop the maid nickname. I brought you into the extraordinary realm. So from now on, call me Instructor Hera." "Yes, Instructor Hera. So what should I do to get stronger quickly?" "Sleep. Right now. Good mental health is the best defense against losing control of your powers." Then she stole my pillow. Just claimed it like a tiny furry landlord. "This is MY territory. You sleep somewhere else." I didn't argue. Once she falls asleep, she's basically a dead pig anyway. I can toss her wherever I want. But honestly, sleeping was hard. This was my first night as a supernatural being. Back in my original world, superpowers only existed in movies and novels. Now I actually had powers. My brain was buzzing like a kid on Christmas Eve who just discovered Santa is real and lives next door. Still, I forced myself to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a big day. Morning came, and Katie marched us to the financial office to meet Mrs. Wheeler, Anna's accountant. She was this adorable round-faced old lady who looked like a friendly apple with glasses. Katie introduced us with, "These 4 are the new guards. Just give them the standard pay. They don't really need money. They're all from noble families." "Don't need money? Noble families?" "Katie, I'm literally a broke transmigrator pretending to be an aristocrat. Every coin matters to me." But I kept my mouth shut and stood in line like a good employee. We each got 10 gold pounds per week. Sounds decent, enough to support a middle-class family comfortably. Of course, my loving grandfather Earl Hall sends me 250 gold pounds monthly, expecting absolute loyalty in return. In his mind, spending that much money should buy obedience even from a dog, let alone a grandson. Joke's on him. This dog bites. When Mrs. Wheeler handed me my first paycheck, I felt something stir deep inside. That familiar paycheck dopamine. Some things transcend dimensions. The joy of payday is universal whether you're an office worker or a fake noble guard in a fantasy empire. Wilson was the most excited of all of us. He's the 16th son of Duke Constant. No inheritance rights, 15 older brothers above him, 0 expectations from anyone. Poor guy just wanted a stable job. I patted his shoulder and told him his father must believe in him. He smiled like a puppy who just got a treat. After payday, things got serious. Today was the Sun Thanksgiving Festival, a massive imperial holiday where all royal children must attend Mass at the Grand Cathedral. There's also a huge ball tonight. Katie lined us up behind Anna's procession, and we marched towards St. Vitus Cathedral. The morning light turned the whole building into a burning mountain of stained glass and gold. Thousands of citizens packed the streets, standing on tiptoes, craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the royal family. And then, for the first time ever, all 4 imperial princesses appeared together in public. I tightened my grip on my weapon and kept my eyes sharp, because if my game memories were correct, the revelers were absolutely going to cause trouble during this festival. Payday and potential terrorism. What a Thursday! Today was the Sun Thanksgiving Festival, which meant all 4 imperial princesses had to march through the city to the Grand Cathedral for Mass. I got to walk behind them as a guard, which gave me a front-row seat to the most dramatic fashion show in imperial history. First up, Princess Ellie, the eldest. Fire-red hair, dark velvet dress embroidered with golden roses, walking like she personally invented the concept of beauty. The crowd went absolutely insane for her. People were literally screaming they'd rip their own hearts out for her. She glanced back at Anna with the kind of look you'd give a bug on your shoe. Classic eldest sibling energy. Then there was Saya, the second princess. Soft yellow dress, warm smile, genuinely waving at poor people on the roadside. She was the people's princess, more fans than Ellie by sheer numbers, but less political power because her supporters were commoners instead of old money aristocrats. She looked like a walking ray of sunshine, the type who'd adopt every stray cat in the kingdom. Third was Isabella. Blue dress, razor-sharp posture, zero interest in the cheering crowd. This woman invented the steam engine and some kind of mechanical computer. Basically the Empire's genius engineer. Only problem? She secretly follows the knowledge sect, which the official Sun Church considers heresy. I could practically see her sweating about entering a holy cathedral without bursting into flames. And then, silence. The cheering died like someone pulled the plug on a speaker. The crowd went cold. Anna walked out last, alone, separated from her sisters by a gap wide enough to park a carriage in. Black dress, black pearls, black gold crown, silver mask covering her cursed face. She looked like a dark queen from a Gothic painting, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. A few brave souls tried shouting support. Princess Anna, we believe in you, but they were immediately shushed by everyone around them. She's a disaster star. She's a witch. She belongs on the gallows, not in a cathedral. The irony is thick enough to chew. Anna defended the northern border, recovered critical technology blueprints, kick-started the Industrial Revolution, and ran charity programs for 3 straight years. But none of that matters because she's a witch. And the cruel joke? She couldn't have done any of those things without being a witch. My fellow guards were whispering behind me. Kep muttered, I bet our princess is the least popular princess in history. Wilson nervously told him to shut up. Hughes just admired how glamorous the other 3 sisters looked. Anna could hear every single word. Witch-level hearing means nothing escapes her. Not the crowd's hatred, not the guards' complaints, not one whispered insult. So I spoke up, just loud enough for her supernatural ears to catch. In my heart, Princess Anna might not be perfect, but she's the most special existence. Beautiful, powerful, and one of a kind. I saw the tiniest smile appear on her lips. She didn't look at me, but I knew she heard it. And sometimes that's enough. We finally entered the cathedral. Massive stained glass, whale-fat candles, paintings of creation and doomsday on the ceiling. The whole dramatic package. The emperor sat at the highest seat, smiling proudly at his 3 older daughters, then freezing when he saw Anna. Even her own father looked at her like she was contaminating the holy air just by breathing it. Father of the Year, everyone. Standing ovation. The Pope stood at the altar in his white gold robes, ready to begin the ceremony. Everything was solemn and grand and boring. Then Anna stepped closer, and the Pope collapsed. Just dropped. Straight down. Clutching his own throat. Face turning purple, choking on nothing. The whole cathedral erupted into chaos. Because of course something terrible happens the moment Anna walks in. Murphy's Law isn't a theory in this world. It's my full-time job description. The Pope collapsed, and naturally everyone blamed Anna. Because of course they did. 1,000 people in this cathedral, and somehow the witch standing 30 feet away is responsible for an old man falling over. Incredible detective work, everyone. The royal guards and Sun Knights immediately drew their weapons on Anna. My team drew weapons right back. For a holy place of worship, there were suddenly a lot of swords pointed at people. The emperor told everyone to stand down, then looked at Anna with pure disgust. This is a sacred place. You shouldn't have come. That's when something inside me snapped. I stepped in front of Anna and blocked her from every hateful stare in the room. She's fought 300 days on a battlefield nicknamed the meat grinder for these ungrateful people, and they repay her by treating her like garbage in church. Your Majesty, I can save the Pope, but I need everyone to back up. The Emperor raised an eyebrow. You can save him? Earl Hall, my lovely grandfather, jumped up screaming at me to sit down and stop embarrassing him. Heartwarming family support, as always. The Emperor made me a deal. Save the Pope and earn the Hall family name officially. Fail and die alongside him. What kind of psychotic healthcare policy is that? Doctor fails, doctor dies? No wonder this empire has problems. But I accepted because I had a plan. A beautiful, shameless, absolutely criminal plan. I knelt beside the Pope and started examining him. What I was actually doing was pickpocketing the most powerful religious figure in the empire. Right there, in God's house, under God's spotlight. First find, a lucky coin. Guaranteed good fortune with every flip. I squeezed Hera hiding in my coat, and she instantly wrapped the coin in fake black smoke like it was cursed. This coin has been contaminated, I announced gravely. It's causing the Pope's suffering. I smashed it on the ground. Hera created an illusion of it shattering into pieces. The real coin? Already safely in Hera's greedy little claws. Next, a red flame crystal. 3 uses of absolute firepower. Squeeze Hera, black smoke effect, gasps from the audience. Also contaminated. Extremely dangerous, smashed. Stolen. Next, a blue sea conch that lets you read minds. Squeeze, smoke, shock. Contaminated beyond repair. Smashed. Pocketed. Thank you very much. Someone in the crowd literally made a heartbroken noise watching me destroy these priceless treasures. I pretended not to hear. The Anomaly Containment Bureau tried to intervene and recover the items, but Anna stood behind me radiating murder energy, so cold it could freeze lava. Her eyes basically said, "Touch him and I'll redecorate this cathedral with your organs." Nobody moved. A cardinal tried to stop me by arguing the Pope could purify himself. I hit him with, "Unless you want the Pope to stay unconscious because you've been eyeing his position." The cardinal turned red and retreated. Checkmate. Then my hand reached the Pope's staff, the staff of authority. The big prize. And that's when I felt it. The Pope's eyelids twitching. This old fox was awake. He'd been faking the whole time. His entire collapse was a scheme to frame Anna and get her executed. But now I was about to steal his staff on live television, and he had a choice. Keep pretending to be unconscious and lose his most prized possession. Or wake up and admit he's fine. He chose his staff. His eyes flew open, and he snatched it from my hands like a toddler protecting his favorite toy. This is mine. Nobody takes it. The crowd erupted in celebration. The Pope is saved. The boy did it. Even Earl Hall stood up proudly yelling, "That's my son." Funny how fast family love appears when there's glory involved. Everyone praised me as a hero. Meanwhile, the Pope sat there clutching his staff, staring at me with the fury of a man who just got robbed in his own church by a teenager. "Sorry, Your Holiness. Better luck next scheme. Time to wrap up my greatest heist with a victory speech." I turned to the Pope and started showering him with compliments, so thick you could spread them on toast. "Your Holiness, you collapsed because you worked too hard for the Empire. You sacrificed your own body, observing the future. You're the greatest Pope in history." The old man couldn't argue without exposing his own scheme. I watched him swallow his rage like bitter medicine while the crowd nodded along. Beautiful. Nobody was blaming Anna anymore. Now everyone thought the Pope just carried too many cursed items. Problem solved, reputation laundered, stolen goods secured. Then I got cocky. I destroyed those items under the sun god's guidance. I declared dramatically, throwing my hands up like a martyr. I accept any punishment. That's when the cathedral's divine symbol flickered. Oh no, I forgot one tiny detail about this world. The gods are real. I just lied repeatedly inside the sun god's own house, robbed his Pope, and claimed divine authorization I absolutely did not have. A beam of light punched through the stained glass and landed directly on me. "Hera, save me." Hera panicked too. She was already planning her escape route, ready to abandon me like a rat leaving a sinking ship. Loyalty? She chose lunch over loyalty every time. But the light was faster than her little legs. It wrapped around both of us and nothing happened. No burning. No divine smiting. Just warmth. Like a gentle hug from the universe's most powerful grandparent. The sun god wasn't punishing me. He was smiling at me. I have never been more confused in my entire life across 2 worlds. Even Hera was floating there covered in question marks. Every bishop dropped to their knees. The Pope stood there looking absolutely betrayed by his own God. The expression on his face said, "I've served you my entire life, and you're blessing this con artist?" The Emperor quickly jumped on the bandwagon. "I authorized everything. And as promised, you're officially a Hall family member now." I thanked God, thanked the Emperor, and desperately wanted to run before the sun god changed his mind. Then a cardinal suggested I join the Holy Church. Great career opportunity, nobles would kill for it. But joining the church meant leaving Anna, and more importantly, being monitored by the Pope who now wanted me dead. No thank you. I serve Princess Anna. The entire cathedral gasped like I'd slapped a baby. Nobles called me an idiot. Believers questioned my sanity. All four princesses stared at me. Ellie with envy, Saya with curiosity, Isabella with sharp analytical eyes already dissecting the Pope's fake collapse. The Pope tried one last guilt trip. "You'd rather serve a mortal than God." That's when Anna stepped forward and dropped a nuclear bomb. "He's not a servant. He's my fiancé." The cathedral exploded with gossip. Her fiancés always die. The curse will get him. Why would anyone choose the witch? Most men would have run. Most men would have pretended they didn't hear. Most men would have suddenly developed amnesia. I walked to Anna, dropped to one knee in front of every noble, every priest, every princess, and the god literally watching from above, took her hand, kissed it, and said, "Princess Anna, will you marry me?" A nobody with no title, no wealth, no family fortune, just one honest heart. The crowd went silent. Was I terrified? Absolutely. Was this strategically necessary? 100%. Did my heart also beat a little faster than strictly professional? I refused to answer that question. I barely finished my proposal when Grandpa Hall jumped up like someone lit a firecracker under his chair. "He's my son. I'll give 1/3 of my entire fortune as a wedding gift. 1/3 of the richest man in the empire's fortune. For me, the guy he treated like a stray dog last week." But I understood immediately. Hall didn't suddenly develop fatherly love. He needed Anna's military power to protect his banking and mining empire from competitors trying to carve up his business. And who's scarier than a witch? Nobody. That's who. I glanced at Anna and realized something even more impressive. She'd orchestrated this entire situation. She'd been quietly pressuring the Hall family through proxy companies and rival businesses, making Grandpa feel threatened enough to voluntarily offer his wallet. This woman plays chess while everyone else plays checkers. My future wife is terrifying and I love it. "I accept," Anna said. My heart did a little skip, but then the businessman in me couldn't resist asking, "Is it because of the money or because of me?" Anna paused. I could see guilt flash behind her mask. Then she did something nobody expected. She promised not to touch a single coin of my inheritance. Not one. She basically signed an imaginary prenuptial agreement in front of the entire empire's elite. Katie nearly fainted. Their whole campaign funding plan just evaporated because Anna chose my feelings over political advantage. Behind me, my fan club was going wild. Kep was flipping his hair and bragging to strangers. "That's my brother right there." Wilson, sweet, terrified Wilson, straight up promoted me to Big Brother status on the spot. Then Simon appeared from literally nowhere claiming to be my actual blood brother, which technically he is, and started competing for bragging rights. Poor Hughes stood there looking like someone canceled his birthday. My engagement meant the four-family competition was over 3 months early. He briefly considered whether my death might reopen his chances, then immediately started praying for forgiveness. "Buddy, I appreciate the honesty." Then the Pope ruined everything. "I object," the old fox announced. "This boy is chosen by God. He shouldn't marry a witch. He can pick any of the other 3 princesses instead." Excuse me? What? Did this man just offer me 3 princesses like a restaurant menu? Today's specials: the Empire's Rose, the Empire's Pearl, or the Empire's Heart. Choose your flavor. The entire cathedral went nuclear. Every jaw in the building hit the floor simultaneously. Grandpa Hall puffed up like a proud rooster. "That's my boy. I've been secretly training him to be God's chosen one." "Nobody asked you, Grandpa." The Marquis of Bera glared at Hall with pure jealousy, then looked at his own useless son Kep, who was busy fixing his hair, and probably considered disowning him right there. Emperor Louis actually paused and looked at his 3 older daughters with a calculating expression. I could see the gears turning. Why waste this, God-chosen, son-in-law on the scary witch daughter when precious Ellie could have him? Ellie looked intrigued. Saya looked curious. Isabella looked like she was already solving me like an equation. And Anna? Anna's face was darkening like a storm cloud rolling over a mountain. The temperature around her dropped so fast I expected icicles to form on the church columns. I could practically hear the thought radiating from behind her mask. Touch my fiancé, and everyone in this building dies. The Pope wanted to save the world from Anna. But right now, he might have accidentally started the apocalypse 5 minutes early. The Emperor backed up the Pope like a politician smelling opportunity. The Pope's wishes are my wishes. Leanne, you're too valuable to rush into marriage. Take your time. Consider all your options. Translation, don't marry the scary daughter. Pick one of my favorites instead. The crowd went feral. Nobles were whispering, commoners were gawking, and somewhere a street vendor was probably selling popcorn. Then Princess Ellie. The empire's rose, the most beautiful woman alive. The girl men literally duel over, extended her hand toward me. Her green eyes swept over my face like she was inspecting merchandise at an auction. Her 4 existing guards looked like someone had poured lemon juice into their souls. One blonde guy actually whined. But Ellie, you promised you'd choose me. She crushed him without blinking. I said I'd consider you. That's different. Another silver-haired suitor protested she'd promised to get engaged to him. Her response? Sorry I lied. But I'm so pretty that any lie should be forgiven, right? And somehow these men got mad at me instead of her. The logic of simps transcends all dimensions. Then sweet Saya, the people's princess, gathered her courage and stammered out an invitation too. I also admire Leon's character. I'd like him as my guard. Her fanboys in the crowd burst into tears like a choir of heartbreak. And then Isabella, the genius engineer who never cared about romance, whose 4 guards were literally forced on her by the emperor, stepped forward and said, I'm interested in you too. 3 princesses. 3 outstretched hands. The emperor beaming. The Pope nodding. The entire cathedral holding its breath. Meanwhile, Grandpa Hall was strutting around like a peacock. That's my son. I secretly trained him to be this amazing. Simon jumped in defending me from haters, threatening to duel anyone who called me a bastard. I'd never even properly met Simon before today, but apparently we're best brothers now. Family love really activates when you become famous. Poor Hugh stood in the corner looking like his dog died, his car got stolen, and his girlfriend left. All simultaneously. He'd secretly loved Isabella, was forced to pursue Anna, lost Anna to me, and now Isabella wanted me too. The universe was personally bullying this man. Everyone in the cathedral was placing bets. He'll pick Ellie. No, Saya, Isabella, obviously, and then, unanimously, he definitely won't pick the witch. Every word landed on Anna like a brick. I could feel it, the curse flower on her face growing, her aura turning deadly cold. She'd never competed with her sisters for anything except the throne. She'd spent her whole life knowing that anything she wanted would be taken away. And now they were trying to take me. I watched her hands trembling behind that silver mask, and something inside me made a decision that had nothing to do with strategy. I pulled a gold wire from my uniform collar, twisted it into a ring, took Anna's hand, and slid it onto her finger. In case anyone didn't hear me the first time, Princess Anna, will you marry me? You are, and always will be, my first choice. Anna looked down at the makeshift ring. Behind her mask, her eyes were wet. The cathedral erupted. Shock, disbelief, outrage, I heard none of it. In that moment, my world was exactly 1 person wide. Somewhere in the crowd, a reporter snapped a photograph. I didn't know it then, but that picture would end up in the Imperial Museum someday, with a plaque reading, the Savior and his first wife, the proposal, first wife. First. Someone in the future clearly knew things about my love life that I wasn't ready to think about yet. Ellie could not believe it. The most beautiful woman in the Empire, the girl men literally sword fight over, got rejected. By me. For the monster, her face turned redder than her hair. Is it because I'm not pretty enough? Not perfect enough? I looked her dead in the eyes and said, Your Highness, you're very beautiful. But in my heart, Anna is 100 times more beautiful than you. The cathedral exploded with laughter. Not polite chuckling, full-bodied, tears streaming, knee-slapping laughter. Nobles were wheezing. Someone called it the funniest joke of the decade. Even Grandpa Hall winced like I'd stepped on his foot at a formal dinner. But I meant every word. Well, strategically meant every word. Same thing. Ellie masked her humiliation behind a cold smile and whispered to Anna as she passed, "Everything you love, I'll take. You'll end up with nothing." Charming. I can see why the Empire adores her. She's basically a beautiful rattlesnake in a silk dress. Fun fact I learned from the game. Ellie and Anna share the same mother. Their mom developed severe depression after Anna's birth and eventually took her own life. Ellie blamed Anna for everything. So underneath that gorgeous exterior lives a grudge older than most buildings in this city. Saya handled the rejection like the professional actress she is. "I admire your principles," she said sweetly, smiling like a saint. "But I know better. This girl is a tea ceremony master of manipulation. Every gentle word is calculated for maximum political gain. Her mother trained her well." Isabella was the interesting one. "You rejected me too, and that hurts," she said in a voice so flat you couldn't detect a single emotion with laboratory equipment. Then she warned me about the witch's curse, which gave me the perfect opening. "Anna isn't just a witch," I declared loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's the Empire's guardian. She's God's savior sent to protect us all, even when everyone misunderstands her." Anna stared at me like I'd just told her the sky was green and gravity goes sideways. Nobody had ever called her a savior. She'd spent her entire life being called a monster, and here I was rewriting her entire identity in front of the nation's elite. What she didn't know was that behind her mask, something was shifting. The girl who'd wished for the apocalypse countless times was suddenly thinking maybe, just maybe, she could try being nice to this world. For me, I'm either the greatest influence in her life or the most dangerous. Probably both. Kep and Wilson were shipping us like fans at a drama premiere. They're actually kind of cute together. Hughes just stood there radiating misery because Isabella, his secret crush, had publicly reached for me instead of him. The Emperor looked at me like he wanted to crack open my skull and inspect the contents. The Pope stared at me with barely concealed fury. But then something shifted in the old fox's eyes. The hatred melted into something far more terrifying, enthusiasm. I watched him do the mental math in real time. His original plan to frame Anna failed. But now he had a better idea. Raise me up. Make me famous. Turn me into the Empire's golden boy. Then let me die from Anna's curse. If God's chosen one dies because of the witch, the entire Empire would demand her execution. He wanted to make me the Empire's biggest celebrity just to turn me into a martyr. And the title he was already cooking up in his wrinkly brain? Holy Son of the Sun Church. The Pope looked at me with the warmth of a man who just found the perfect weapon. I didn't know his plan yet, but somewhere deep in my survival instincts, a tiny alarm bell started ringing. 1 second I was standing in the crowd minding my business. The next I was yanked through the air like a rag doll and slammed next to the Pope. The old man grabbed my wrist with a grip that reminded me. Oh right, this guy is a top-tier supernatural being. I'd been so busy robbing him that I forgot he could crush me like a grape. My brain screamed. He's going to kill me in front of everyone as revenge. But no. The Pope turned to face the entire cathedral and unleashed the performance of a lifetime. Behold, his voice echoed off every stone wall. God has sent a new sign. This young man is chosen by the divine. From this day forward, he is the Holy Son of the Sun Church. He shall purify corruption and lead the Empire into a glorious future. The silence lasted exactly 2 seconds. Then the cathedral detonated. Commoners dropped to their knees weeping. Farmers' wives were screaming. Holy Son, noble families exchanged panicked glances, trying to read the Emperor's face for instructions on how to react. It was beautiful chaos. And me? I was standing there thinking, what in the absolute circus is happening? Hundreds of candles blazing, gemstones on the Pope's crown throwing rainbow light everywhere, stained glass painting me in colors I couldn't name, and every single eyeball in the building locked onto my face. So this is what being famous feels like. Honestly, kind of awesome. Also terrifying. To cope, I grabbed the Pope's bony hand and waved it at the crowd like we were best friends at a parade. The old man's eye twitched. I don't think anyone had ever used the Pope as a hand puppet before. I scanned the room for reactions. The Emperor sat frozen on his throne, staring at me with the warmth of an ice sculpture. He was furious I didn't choose Ellie, and now the Pope had just promoted me without his permission. Political power struggle? Right above my head. Cool, cool, cool. Saya had gone white as chalk, covering her mouth like she might scream. Isabella's eyes narrowed into analytical slits. I could see her calculating the Pope's angle. Smart girl. She knew this wasn't generosity. Anna almost charged the stage to rip the Pope apart for grabbing me. Katie had to physically hold her back. But behind the rage, I could see confusion. Was the Pope accepting her? No. Anna was too sharp for that. She smelled a trap. Grandpa Hall looked like a farmer who'd won the lottery, but wasn't sure if the ticket was real. His ceremonial gloves were crushed into a wrinkled ball in his fist. The richest man in the empire, wobbling on his feet, needing a friend to hold him upright. The Pope stepped back and bowed to me. Actually bowed. Then offered me center stage. I understood his game perfectly. He wanted to build me into the empire's biggest idol, then let me die from Anna's curse. A martyred holy son killed by the witch. The perfect excuse to execute her. Cute plan, old man. But you just handed me the biggest megaphone in the empire. I sighed dramatically and said, well, I tried to keep it secret, but you've all figured it out. Yes, I'm here to save the world. Please, let me lead you toward a brighter future. The Pope nearly choked. The crowd went absolutely wild. Holy son, holy son, holy son. Even the skeptical nobles were nodding along because honestly, I delivered that line with the confidence of someone who actually believed it. Method acting at its finest. Then, while everyone was still riding the high, I dropped my real bomb. The revelers are planning to spread a plague at tonight's royal ball. We must stop them. The cheering stopped. Every face went pale. Welcome to being the holy son, folks. No rest for the savior. Time to use my shiny new holy son title for something actually useful. According to my game knowledge, the revelers' next move was spreading a plague called the Terminus Plague at tonight's royal ball. This thing makes flowers grow on your body until you literally become soil for more flowers. And it spreads through physical contact. Their plan? Blame it all on Anna, since she already has a Terminus flower on her face. Evil, but annoyingly clever. Originally, I planned to quietly handle this myself at the ball. But why sneak around when you've got the most overpowered job title in the empire? I'm the holy son now. I can just tell people what to do. So I announced it. Right there in the cathedral. The revelers are going to release a plague at tonight's ball. The infection source is Baroness Blaney. The crowd lost its mind. Peasants turned white with fear. Nobles looked at each other like someone had announced a pop quiz at a funeral. Believers stared at me with desperate hope. Now, Blaney's story was actually tragic. After her husband died and left her drowning in debt, his so-called friends circled like wolves. They stripped away everything she had: dignity, property, self-respect. She became a socialite out of pure survival, selling pieces of her soul at every dinner party. Then she met Mr. A, one of the revelers' 12 deacons, who gave her purpose again. Unfortunately, that purpose was becoming a walking biological weapon. She'd been cultivating the Terminus Plague inside her body for 99 days. Tonight was supposed to be her revenge. Infect every nobleman who'd ever used her, watch flowers bloom on their disgusting faces, and serve the Pale Lord's resurrection plan. Poetic justice, reveler style. While I was dropping prophecies in the cathedral, Anna was already moving. She suited up her personal guard in white hazmat gear and kicked down Blaney's door before the church enforcement or the Anomaly Containment Bureau could even put their boots on. They found Blaney in bed with old Count Henry, a 300-pound man who was face-deep in her chest, calling her prettier than Princess Ellie. When the door burst open, the Count demanded to know who dared interrupt. The answer was a squad of armored knights in biohazard suits. "You're both under arrest," Anna said with all the emotion of someone ordering lunch. Count Henry took one look at the situation, rolled his eyes backward, and fainted. Classic noble crisis response. Blaney fought like a cornered animal, trying to bite and scratch anyone within reach. But trained knights in full protective gear? She had zero chance. They wrapped her up like a dangerous burrito and hauled her to the cathedral. The royal ball was canceled. Nobody wanted to dance with potential plague carriers. Then came the part one dreaded, alone time with the Pope. He cornered me and demanded to know how I knew about the plague. I put on my best mysterious prophet face. "Your Holiness, some things I cannot reveal, just as you cannot speak your prophecies aloud. We are both chosen by God. Simply trust me." The Pope stared at me like he wanted to strangle a holy relic. Emperor Louis threatened me too. If there's no plague, you'll pay dearly. He was extra angry because, fun fact, he was also one of Blaney's lovers. When she appeared in the cathedral wrapped head to toe in hazmat gear, about a third of the noble gentlemen present turned green simultaneously. The panic in their eyes was priceless. Every single one of them was frantically trying to remember. Did I touch her recently? Did we shake hands? Did we? Oh no. Watching the Empire's most powerful men collectively realize they might have cuddled a plague bomb was the single most entertaining moment of my two lives combined. Blaney was dragged into the cathedral wrapped in hazmat gear, and the first thing she did was cry and try to throw herself into the Emperor's arms. Louis jumped backwards so fast he nearly tripped over his own throne. The man looked at half-dressed old Count Henry standing next to her and realized, yep, his favorite girlfriend had been cheating on him, with a guy older and fatter than himself. The Emperor's face cycled through about 17 emotions in 2 seconds. Betrayal, disgust, embarrassment, murderous rage. It was like watching a human mood ring malfunction. I didn't waste time. I started interrogating Blaney right there, using my brand new Holy Son authority. She tried playing dumb, so I leaned in close and whispered her biggest secret, the name Frank. Her stepson, her actual lover. The real reason her husband dropped dead. The man she'd secretly shipped to the south to keep safe. Her face went from defiant to terrified in half a heartbeat. She looked behind me and saw the Pope and Anna both standing at my back like the world's most unlikely bodyguard duo. One controls the church, the other could destroy this building with her brain. And they were both backing me. Blaney crumbled. She confessed everything. 3 years as a reveler. The plague plan to frame Anna. The 99 days of cultivating the terminus plague inside her body. I asked about Mr. A, the mysterious reveler deacon who recruited her. No luck. She'd never seen his face. Always masked, always cloaked. Back in my gaming days, I'd just punched through A's hideout with maxed out gear. But here in reality, with no divine equipment and exactly one life, I needed actual intelligence. Frustrating. Then Blaney did something I honestly didn't expect. She started laughing. Not nervous laughter. Full psychotic villain cackling. She pointed at the crowd of distinguished gentlemen and screamed, "You're all infected. The plague has been inside you for months. Every single one of you who spent a night with me. Congratulations, you're going to die with me." The cathedral transformed into pure chaos. Noble lords who'd been sitting with perfect posture 5 minutes ago were now screaming profanity that would make sailors blush. "You filthy. You disgusting." One wife slapped her husband so hard the sound echoed off the vaulted ceiling. Another man burst into tears. Someone tried to charge at Blaney but was held back by guards. Emperor Louis started trembling. He'd spent 2 weeks straight with Blaney recently. The most powerful man in the empire was shaking like a leaf because he couldn't keep his royal hands to himself. Saya tried to help her father, but his servant pulled her back. "Don't touch anyone, Your Highness." Suddenly, every person in this cathedral was looking at everyone else like they might be radioactive. I let the panic cook for exactly long enough, then raised my voice. "Everyone shut up, silence. Every eye on me. If you want to live, be honest." Everyone who slept with Baroness Blaney moved to the left side of the cathedral. Everyone who didn't moved to the right. A nobleman asked with a quivering voice, "Can you really save us?" "Of course. I'm the Holy Son." I said it with maximum confidence while internally having absolutely no idea how many people this woman had infected. But fake it till you make it, right? What happened next was the single most humiliating moment in imperial aristocratic history. The left side of the cathedral started filling up. And filling. And filling. Wives watched husbands shuffle left with murder in their eyes. The emperor himself had to choose a side. Noble society? More like a reality TV show with fancier costumes and worse morals. Then Blaney exploded. Not with fire, with flowers. 1 second she was standing there in her hazmat suit. The next her skin started bubbling like boiling porridge. Lumps pushed outward from underneath, wriggling, squirming, alive. Then pop. Her skin split open and instead of blood, a flower crawled out. Dark, fleshy petals with veins pulsing inside them, half beautiful and half disgusting, smelling like perfume mixed with a rotting dumpster. Then more popped. And more, and more. Flowers erupted from her eyes, her mouth, her chest, her arms, everywhere. They filled the hazmat suit until it ballooned into a grotesque human-shaped garden. The faceplate disappeared behind layers of writhing petals. Her screams faded into gurgling, then silence. What stood before us wasn't Blaney anymore. It was a person-shaped flower bed, still twitching inside a stretched-out suit. The smell hit everyone simultaneously. A respected old marchioness bent over and vomited her morning pastries onto the marble floor. Splash, right on her expensive dress. That opened the floodgates. Gagging, retching, teeth chattering. The cathedral sounded like a hospital ward. One nobleman's legs gave out completely, and he collapsed, leaving a dark wet stain spreading across his silk trousers. The Empire's finest, ladies and gentlemen, vomiting and wetting themselves in God's house. Even the princesses cracked. Saya nearly fainted. Ellie bit her lip until it almost bled. Isabella went white as paper. I'd seen this scene in the game's cutscenes before, but watching it happen in real life, my stomach did backflips too. But I held it together because someone had to look like they had things under control. The effect was instant. Every nobleman who'd been hesitating about admitting their relationship with Blaney suddenly sprinted to the left side of the cathedral. Self-preservation beats shame every single time. And then came the surprises. Emperor Louis shuffled to the left. The Emperor, the most powerful man in the Empire, standing in the "I slept with the Plague Lady" line. Then a cardinal joined him. A man of God. Then Grandpa Hall waddled over too. My own fake grandfather. I watched this parade of shame with my jaw clenched so tight my teeth could have cracked diamonds. 1/5 of the entire nobility admitted to being Blaney's lovers. And she apparently didn't discriminate. There were noble women standing on the left side too.